You're listening to Opinions and Beer. I prefer mead. You sent me to hell, Jason.
I really just want to make everybody jealous.
I'm a person from Earth.
Listen, what are we talking about?
I reckon it sounds like Opinions and Beer.
You can do it, Dingo.
Oh, I'm good.
You're the smartest dumb guys I've ever met.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Opinions and Beer. I'm your host Adam. Today we have a very special Memorial Day weekend episode. We recorded this on Memorial Day. We have Keenan with us.
How's it going? I am indeed Keenan. He is not lying.
We have Ed Ray 1416.
Yo.
We have Raymond.
Hey, I'm Rebo.
And we have Texas Big Beer Man, John McKissick.
Good to be here. That's Johnny Max.
Johnny
Yeah.
Max.
Now you gotta edit it.
Now I gotta edit.
This is how much of a moron Adam is.
No, God.
Leave that in there.
Yeah, leave that in. I get So today's beer of the day. We have multiple beers of the day, but the main attraction is Johnny Max's own Cause of Death.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, well, when we were talking to him just around the fire pit, and I told him I had a few of these left. I brewed it, 14 years ago as a home brewer before I had my commercial brewery. And it was a tough beer to brew. It's about 21% alcohol. And I'm hoping it aged okay because I found these out in my shop. It gets to 100 degrees over the past 3 years, so we'll find out.
Oh, wow. This is so experimental. I feel so lucky to be a part of this.
Well, you want us to pop the top?
You want to build? Are we building up to Cause of Death, or are we?
We don't want to destroy our palate before we taste the Cause of Death in case we have a hoppy beer or a sweet beer.
But before we pop top, I want to mention that we are a beer podcast that are. Adam, do you know how many episodes we've done? Like, can you say off the top of your head?
I think 61.
And this is our 62nd episode?
Yes.
All right, we are a
maybe
beer
64.
podcast, and it was our 62nd to 64th episode. It took us 64 episodes to finally have an episode all about beer. But I assure you, we're a beer podcast.
I've had beer only episodes.
Have you?
Yes.
All right. Well, why'd you leave my ass at home when you did this?
Because you were at home. That's why I did the beer only episode.
Oh, all right. I guess this is my first beer only. Thanks for letting me put my foot in my mouth.
Ready to open it?
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about the history of this.
Hang on, let's pop the top.
Okay.
Pop the top.
Oh, flat.
Pop top again.
That's all right.
Now this.
So it was my first rye.
This
looks kind of like motor oil.
It does look like motor oil.
That's good.
Now this is a dark beer, but this is a ale, huh? I mean not an ale.
It's an ale.
It's not a stout though.
Well, it's an ale because I used ale yeast.
Right. Well, I think all stouts use ale. Yeah, I was saying but the
well, it's
style,
actually the style is a old ale.
Old
Smells
ale.
like motor oil.
Okay. It's staining my glass.
This is a.
Oh, you can smell the malt, man. This is a thick beer. You have a glass, Adam, or y'all share?
No, I don't have a glass. I thought there was wasn't there two of these?
Yeah, Mark took it.
Oh, Dad, you took mine.
The cherry notes are coming through like crazy.
Oh, did you?
Oh my God.
Oh, you wouldn't tell that was 21% alcohol.
20.
Wait,
Which
we
is-
gotta wait on that. I'm waiting on that.
Oh my God.
I'm waiting on my co-host.
Yes. This is excellent.
And Adam gotta take
I'm
this
gonna
journey.
quote Raymond. I'm gonna quote Raymond. Damn it, man.
While we're waiting on Adam, should I go ahead and do my wine review? I'll make it quick.
Oh no, we're gonna focus on this.
Yeah,
one. I want to taste that when you do it too.
This. Right now, the topic of the show is Cause of Death.
Yeah, we wouldn't know it's 21% alcohol, Mark.
Really? See,
Cause
and
of death.
We were talking about that. Like, man, 21%
you want some?
alcohol.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is, like,
shot glass.
I'm mildly concerned that it's gonna taste like shit.
Yeah. I hear you.
Oh, so you tried it already?
No, I was waiting on you.
You were?
I was waiting on my co-host. You know.
I didn't.
Smells of bourbon.
I know, right?
Doesn't it? That's the alcohol notes in the nose. If you breathe out as you swallow, it'll burn your nose. That's how you know it's high alcohol.
Oh man, that just tastes good. It tastes.
You don't even taste the alcohol.
No.
That's what I'm
I know, it
saying.
tastes fruity almost.
It could kill you.
I want to say fruity.
You drank too much.
Cherry.
Yeah, you get
Cherry
cherry
notes.
notes.
Yeah.
You get
Cherry
cherry
notes?
notes. That's from the
So
age.
not for college kids, because they will kill themselves on this.
Maybe
Same reason why today, like, you know what, me and my, I'm sorry, I don't mean to branch, but someone asked, like, if you could ever bring back something that was discontinued, what would you bring back? And my answer was Sparks Energy Beer. You know, because, like, and screw the college kids for ruining it for us.
I thought they brought
Oh,
it
the
back.
energy drink?
Yeah,
I drink those
like,
too. The beer that had the
yeah, and it
the stuff to
actually
give you
worked.
energy?
It actually got you all pep.
yeah. Don't tell anybody, but I used
No,
to drink
Don't
that
they make
too.
Four Locos?
But those aren't the same. Like, the Four Locos aren't an energy. It's
What do you
I don't
think,
know
Raymond?
what Four Locos are, but
This
they're not
is-
an energy beer.
Like that,
yeah,
angels
back to
dancing
that.
on my
Sorry.
tongue. Like angels dancing on my
This,
tongue.
you know what's crazy? Like I've had 10%, I've had 9% alcohols that are like very boozy, and this isn't boozy.
No, it's very dangerous
Yeah,
beer.
yeah. It's just
It's
so
a-
sweet and so.
Well, that comes with
It's
age.
almost like a wine.
It's a barley wine.
Yeah.
But the way I had brewed it was it took a lot of research because I had a man in our homebrew club that I was in said that the highest I could expect to brew a beer was like 14% alcohol.
And you're like, yeah.
So we were all into big beers, so I started doing research, and I found these papers from the 1800s where they were studying yeast mortality and the things that kill the yeast. And there's 3 things that kill yeast. High gravity will kill them because the shell will just implode. Alcohol, if it gets too high, will kill them. And if CO2 gets too high, it kills it. And they had a yeast out by White Labs called 099, and it said that it would go up to 20-25% alcohol. So I had to figure out a way to get the super thick wort, because you have to have a lot of sugar to get this much alcohol concentrated. So I boiled my wort down until it was about half the thickness of honey. And you can't put yeast in that because, like I said, that's one of the causes of death. It'll implode. So I took it and I jarred it in mason jars. I canned it. And when I went to get the gravity, I couldn't get the gravity, so I called a guy that got me in the home brewing. And I said, when I put the hydrometer in there, it just floats. I mean, it's like 2/3 out, and the numbers aren't even in the wort. He said, cut it with distilled water half and half and double it. I don't know why I didn't think of that. I guess at the end of the day, when I brew, I drink all day. So
Yeah.
So I got the gravity, and I can't remember what it is offhand, but there is an article online. If you do a search for cause of death, BYO, it's in Brew Your Own magazine.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
it has the process on how to do it. So the next problem was how to get the yeast in it without it killing it. So I had a starter, and it was a half-gallon starter, and I got my yeast were already going, and then I just started pouring the wort in it every day. And to keep the CO2 down, I had a pure oxygen bottle and a stainless steel stone, and I aerated the hell out of it till it foamed up to the top. And that served 2 purposes. One, it caused the CO2 release, so that couldn't kill it. But when you put a lot of oxygen into the fermenting yeast, they go aerobic and they start multiplying. So as I kept doing it, I moved it into a 6.5-gallon carboy, and as I started getting more and more volume, and the alcohol started getting higher and higher every day, I felt that some of the yeast were dying off. So what I was doing is I was taking the yeast that survived when I added the oxygen, and they would multiply. If I would have, at the end of fermentation, if I would have pulled some yeast off of it, I would have had super high gravity ale yeast. But I was just trying to get through with this process because it was very daunting. Now when I sent the article in the Brew Your Own magazine and they published it, the editor, Chris Colby, he called me and said, I'm getting a lot of bad feedback saying you can't do that. You cannot add oxygen after it started fermenting because it'll get oxidized beer, and that gives you the cardboard flavor. And so I went to Austin. He lived in Bastrop. So I went to Austin to the Gingerman and sat down with his wife, himself, my wife, and I, and we recorded a podcast. And I said, now look, we're going to open up a cause of death. I said, I want you to really scrutinize and look for oxidation. And we opened it up, poured it in our glasses, and I'm watching him. He took a sip and he goes, wow, there was no oxidation. You taste oxidation?
No.
Well, you should, because it's 14 years old now, but
there's none.
Me and Adam were talking about that because he's telling me, like, one of the drawbacks of having such a high alcohol content is like you start to get a cardboard taste. He's telling me about everything you just said, and I was thinking about that, like, all the way up to this podcast. I was like, here we go with cardboard beer.
Well, I was saying that about I was saying that's why IPAs. I was saying IPAs age.
Like that.
Actually, the higher the alcohol, the longer the taste will last.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just saying.
Okay.
Well,
Point is I was spearing the cardboard taste, the cardboard flavor, and it's not there at all. No.
No, but it sure is rich and malty and dark.
Yeah,
it's
it
dark, and it was actually not your most fermentable barley that I used. I loved Maris Otter, and it's not as fermentable as two-row. But I just love Maris Otter, so it's 100% Maris Otter. If I would have gone with two-row, it probably would have been not so rich, but it would have probably fermented a little bit higher, maybe.
And when you made these, and these were all like you had a whole batch for sale to the public.
No. When I started my commercial brewery, to try and do this on a commercial level, I was thinking, well, I've got a 3-barrel fermenter, but it would have taken a day and a half to boil it down. But we had a distributor at the time, Del Papa, and they said that, well, if I did it, they couldn't sell it because it's like pleading guilty lawsuits and stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Doesn't other companies have beer with that?
No, no, it's the guy. No,
it's the name.
I actually just talked to someone who works for that dude at Del Papa, and he was saying that he will, if the label, like apparently there was a new Four Locos that was supposed to come out, but the label had a guy like having his fist like about to shoot the bird or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. Budweiser, no, you must have this. It's in the contract to carry this new drink. He's like, no, it hurts our image. Oh no! So he's very like,
I'm an ass.
Religion.
Dude,
he'll stop the lower of prices. He said like Budweiser will tell him to lower prices on certain beers, and he'll say, no, why would I do that? It diminishes our product or something like that. I don't know. He just does not listen to corporate.
Well, he has taken their craft beer department and done excellent with it. I wish he would have been there leading it up whenever when they were carrying me. We got out of the contract quick as we could because we could sell our beer. I mean, we could sell it like nobody. My wife and I, we go in there, cowboy hat and boots. We're Texas big beer. I mean, They got to know us. They knew all about us, so that we didn't realize it. But when we were in Austin, one of her aunts had went in there, was looking for a beer, and the person that owned the craft beer store just started talking about us and everything. They were repeating everything. It's like they were the expert on us because we told them a lot and we got to know them. And so that's how we sold so much beer all over Texas. But we were just so small, it like it killed us. Brewing, bottling by hand. I had a cast iron capper. I wore this shoulder out. I thought I was going to have to get surgery on it from capping bottles. They were bomber bottles, but still.
It's an expensive hobby. You know, I had to get surgery because of my hobby.
No, this was when I was commercial. I told Raymond a while ago, I said, I think we brewed what I calculated at least 150,000 gallons, and I bottled them and labeled them all by hand.
That's crazy. What's the hardest challenges of being a craft brewer?
Well, it's getting expensive now. Used to, whenever they started craft beer, that you wanted to do it because you couldn't buy, exquisite beer. It was Bud Miller Coors, water beer.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to get like European beers, you'd get the recipe and you would start brewing them. You'd go through history, and so you would just brew it because you loved good beer and you couldn't buy it. Now you can just buy anything. So now I guess the challenge would be to get something brewed that you can't just buy,
something
which is
better
hard.
than what's available to the public and stuff.
Well, I wouldn't say it's cheaper. I mean, the challenge is, if you're a real craft brewer, is to brew something that you can't buy, something better.
Yeah.
The favorite beer that I brew was an ESB, and I would keep it on tap every day. I'd come home and I could pull a pint off a tap, and that was so good. I told my wife, I said, I haven't homebrewed in about 3 years. I said, man, if I brew, I sure would like to have that ESB on tap.
Yeah.
Well, this is, y'all are drinking history. This is the highest alcohol by volume home alt grain that there is in the world.
Ever made?
Yeah, I was going to say that all grain. Like
all grain.
Well, now Sam Adams has their Utopias.
Yeah.
Now, we had our podcast, Brewcrazy, and I called up and I got an interview with his managing brewer. What was his name? Brown. Anyway, I'm on there and I started talking to him about the process, about how they do the Utopias. I said, well, do you do this? And I was laying out everything I just told you on how I did mine. And when I started talking about it, he clammed up. He quit saying a word. And I went through explaining the whole process. And finally, I got him to start talking again at the end. He couldn't say yes. to anything I said because he would be giving out their trade secrets. But there's really only one way to successfully brew a high alcohol all grain beer, and it's the way I laid it out.
And how much does it cost for like a 6-pack for a beer like this?
No, Utopia's like $100.
That's
A
what I'm
bottle.
saying. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
That's
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, for a bottle, but a bottle that size, or is it bigger?
No, it's a bomber type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
32 ounce.
Utopia's like,
Yeah, see, like we were talking about this earlier, and
I thought it was
and I had this in
$200
my
a
head.
bottle.
And
No,
like,
40
$200?
Yeah.
$200
Jeez,
a bottle.
200, and I was thinking like, his is like roughly the same thing, so it'd be roughly like the same price. But then when you pulled it out the refrigerator and I seen just a normal size bottle, I was like, $200 for that?
Well, I had a lot of people wanted me to brew it commercially. They said in Michigan they would have drove down to the brewery and got it, or down here if I just did it locally. I wanted to.
Oh
I
man,
wanted
like
to.
all day today, or all day at work yesterday, like I knew, I was like, yeah, man, we're drinking like a $200 bottle of beer tomorrow,
No, this is priceless. This is actually priceless.
Shit,
You couldn't put a price on this.
Yeah, I know. But just like in comparison to the beer that's like that is for sale, is like $200 a bottle, and it really makes me feel like a beer connoisseur.
Check out the color of that. That's deep burgundy, man.
Yeah, dude, it looks
Beautiful.
like bourbon, man.
That's what happens when you boil down beer wort for like 12 hours. I mean, I had to divide it up into several pots on different burners so I could boil it down, or it would have taken me 2 days.
When so I was looking at people that tried to recreate Cause of Death, and someone said that it is all grain and it's no sugar, but they said that adding Beano
I forgot that.
was a they said doesn't that defeat the purpose? Why would they say something like that? I didn't understand the comment.
Well, I added Beano, and you wouldn't realize it, but if you add Beano, it helps convert some of the sugars from the boil that are non-fermentable. They're like a complex sugar that the yeast can't consume. So it doesn't do much, but at the end it will help when they can't ferment the sugar, so it breaks it into a simpler sugar. And otherwise, you do like I've had people that tried this brew and it just tasted like sugar water, thick syrup. I mean, it didn't ferment out. This doesn't taste sweet. It's got a good balance to it. I don't know if I could recreate it honestly, but I think I could. I think I could. But normally when you do something for the first time, it's like it's not right. But no, everything did right. I was really on it. I think I'm too lazy now to do it honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was I was on this thing. It was the main focus of my life there for a few weeks in the process.
I was wondering how hammered it was gonna get me, how quick, even just like a little bitty like sample glass.
No, it's not too bad.
Yeah, no, like I could feel it for sure. Like more so than if I would have taken a sample glass of any other kind of beer. I could feel it. I feel like I just drank a whole freaking beer.
Well, here's a tip if you go in craft beer parties and stuff. If you want to not drink too much, if it's a beer you're not familiar with, especially when you go to home brew clubs, as you swallow that first swallow, as it's going down, breathe out through your nose. If it burns your nose, slow down on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it will. That's my test. If it doesn't burn my nose, I can drink that all day long.
Yeah.
That's the bourbon test too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't. I'm saying as you're saying that, I'm trying to recall if I've ever had a beer burn my nose, and I think that's just.
I've had quite a few.
Explains the lack of nose hairs on
on
me.
our show. None of our beers have burned my nose.
When you go to homebrew clubs, I mean, at least the one here in Southeast Texas, the Golden Triangle Homebrewers, they're big beer brewers. They're big beer brewers.
Our podcast all portableized and just interview people at the freaking party or whatever. The hell.
And then label it explicit.
Yeah.
You would have to.
Like we did when we went to the Santa Arnolds brewery.
Yeah.
I like on the spot podcast like we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So how many of these did you make? There's only 2 left. We're drinking.
Well, it was basically 3.5 gallons was all I could get. I was trying to brew 5, but to get the gravity that I needed, ended up with 3.5 gallons. I've got 2 bottles left. I can't remember how many I had. This is the only. I mean, you can look at it. It's in an Avery bottle. I didn't even take the label off of half of them. I just brewed it and put it in whatever. But the only way I could tell it is the only beer that I put caps on that are black with a gold lion on it. And I found these because we had talked yesterday. Man, I got to find them. Like I said, they weren't in the best condition where they were kept, but I don't think you can hurt this beer.
No.
Yeah, no, it's just.
No,
and
it tastes
how
great.
much different does it taste now than when you first made it?
When we first did it, boy, it was alcohol burn. It almost burned your eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like taking a shot of whiskey. I mean, it was strong. So that's why we let it age. You can do the same thing. What's the beer we love doing that with, Raymond? Old Stock.
Oh yeah.
Old Stock Ale. If you buy it first, it's got that bourbon burn. But every year it gets smoother and smoother and smoother. And we would always go buy it in a 4-pack and age it. And just to watch it, like Dean, he would have different years.
Mm-hmm.
And like this year, he would buy cases of it. And then at homebrew clubs, he would bring out a couple of years in a row.
We'd have just an Old Stock night of maybe 5, 10 Old Stocks.
I used to do the same thing.
Now you can't age all, like, what are the best styles of beer to age? Like, what makes it ageable?
Coors Light.
Maybe some Milwaukee's Beast.
And everybody erupts in laughter.
Why are y'all laughing? I'm going to try that.
Oh, you're really gonna age?
High alcohols.
Beast is good. Does Avery still do the Beast?
I mean, I hadn't seen
They
a
used
Beast
to
around
do
years.
it in the bomber bottles, and I had some.
You're not joking.
The Avery had a Beast, and it was 21% alcohol, and it would have a huge bourbon burn. I bought I guess it was a 12-pack case of bombers, and I drank one every year, and it got so good. It was like this, like mine. The big malty.
No.
Oh, okay.
What?
All right.
Avery's
You
preferred.
said the Beast, and I just said Milwaukee's Beast, and you're like, yeah, Beast is good. And I
But
was
now-
like, oh, he isn't joking. You know,
Well,
they bought a Milwaukee's Best and
No,
aged it.
No. Avery's it's comparable to the beer that we're sampling that I brewed, 21% alcohol.
Yeah.
But it was real strong. I mean, like mine was. It'd burn your eyes when it's
I kind of
young.
wanted that. Whenever, like, you know, he talked this beer up, and I got really excited about it, and we've been talking about it the last couple of days, and I was like, man, I hope it, like, all that, hope it burns my eyes and my nose.
No, that's age. Now, the alcohol hasn't
smooth,
gone
though.
down. Alcohol has not gone down.
Has it gone up?
No, because fermentation stopped. If it would have gone up, it would have been highly carbonated. If it had continued fermenting, and it would have been like almost a bottle bomb.
That's what made me think of wine was just like, it was so uncarbonated, which you can't keep it carbonated for 14
Well, I'm surprised.
years,
I think they were carbonated just enough. It's hard. You can't bottle condition it because the alcohol's so high. The yeast, they're dead. They just can't do it.
That's higher than wine. I think most wines are right now are 12, 14%.
Oh man.
Which is fair. When you were a craft brewer, did you try to stay up on beer trends, on craft beer trends?
Oh yeah, and I made my own because I couldn't afford to keep up with Sam Adams. But we kind of did the same thing. And every time I'd come up with the name Sam Calgione, he already took it. I'm like, damn.
I know,
He'd already put a beer on it and trademarked it. I'm like,
I
damn.
know sours were popular a few months ago, and then hazy IPAs were popular, and now low ABV volume beers are getting popular, around 3-4% alcohol.
Really?
Is what apparently the new trend is starting to be.
Well, I really thought about hitting the market with non-alcoholic beers because there's not any. If you were to take, like, say, our the Texas Crude, which was a robust porter, it's so thick, rich, and malty, and what you do is you just boil it where water's not boiling, but the alcohol will boil out. And then you replace, I guess, the alcohol loss if you want to kind of keep the same consistency, I guess, with distilled water. But I wasn't gonna. You just had you'd have had a real rich, malty beer.
But it'd been non-alcoholic.
But it'd been a non-alcoholic. It's easy to make non-alcoholic. And I was thinking, well, can I get a distiller's license and then take the alcohol off of it and then sell it as a distiller, as liquor, which would be scotch, basically.
Sounds good. There's some coffee beers that will probably taste good just as regular drinks.
Yeah, because, you know,
Like
it's so
coffee.
close to coffee, you know. It's like wake up and drink one of those in the morning and go to work.
Yeah.
Speaking of, though, like when we conclude this podcast, given the time, I'm actually going to go to work after this.
Why?
Oh, you kidding?
Because I want overtime.
I thought you said you went to work earlier.
I was going to, but then I was like, nah. Like I thought you were going to get off so early that I didn't see the point in going to work. But then, like, I could have gone to work. But the point is like, I still want to go to work. I don't know, like, if we get home, it's too late, then whatever. But if we get home and Little Caesars is still open, and even if I'm drunk, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to clock in.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I will share one thing that I wanted to do for many years when I had the brewery, because I'd make dark wort for like our robust porter, and I had bees. And I thought, man, in the wintertime, you put sugar water out there, and they turn that into honey. I thought, man, if you had like a wort, a real dark malty wort, and you had bees turn it into honey, it would be this color, and it would have a flavor, basically of a malted beer. So if anybody wants to do it, and let me know. I'll buy some just to try it.
Yeah,
that was on a different subject. That's why. Rabbit trail.
That's called a segue.
Yeah. I feel like is there like a sauce that tastes like bourbon, like some sort of bourbon sauce, like Worcestershire?
A1.
Yeah, like A1 Worcestershire.
I think so. Just because like bourbon's used in cooking so much.
Maybe it's such a thick beer. It almost tastes like a sauce.
Like A1 beer. No. I'm just joking. It don't taste like A1.
More filling, tastes great.
Yeah.
This will fill you up. When we did what was our beer that we brewed, the Big Texas Blonde, it was real high alcohol. It was 12% alcohol. It was like 900 calories in a bomber bottle. It was a meal in itself.
You cannot drink that on a diet.
No.
I got a friend who's like, man, I can't drink beer right now. I'm on a diet. And for one, I was taken back by that. Like, wow, man, just.
We'll drink one of the water beers.
Oh man, we brought that up, and then like
they have diet beer now.
Yeah, he said he's been drinking this seltzer water beer.
Oh yeah, the new. It's like water beer. It's like
no. It's it's not like alcoholic water, but water beer. Not to be confused with now there's straight up a bottle of water you can get with alcohol content. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
It was.
Okay, but there's also straight up water beer, not water alcohol, but water beer.
Coors.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I can't drink beer. I'm on a diet.
No, they do have diet. No, they have diet beer. What's that? Zero
it's
calorie.
Like the seltzer water
no,
beer.
the 0
he's
calorie
talking
one.
about what you're talking about are the same thing.
I'm talking about a third thing now.
Okay.
What's the Michelob Ultra? Aren't they diet beer?
Yeah, he's saying
that's
it's
the
like,
ladies'
beer.
beer.
It's like one of the only things he can drink and shit. Yeah.
the ladies.
Very low
beer.
carbs.
Low carb.
But I do remember when I had the brewery, I drank one of the Coors Lights. I could not make a beer that had that little flavor. All my beers had flavor.
Oh man, that's
I don't even know how they did it.
Getting like the American like crap water beer. That's why I go to Coors Light. There ain't like Budweiser when it gets hot, or like when it's not just completely frigid cold. Any beer, any of those water beers, they taste like crap when they get hot. But Coors still tastes like water.
Yeah, they don't have the flavor that can go, accelerated bad when it warms up. I don't know how they do it. I was trying to figure it out.
They drink Old English, malt liquor, and they drink Steel Reserve, and they're like, man, no, like try a sip, it's fine. No, I've tried a sip. I was a teenager once.
It's one of those. Is it Steel Reserve? One of them. We did a podcast on all of the malt liquors, and some of them were damn good. Schlitz malt liquor was the worst. But there were some, and we started tasting them going by the beer style. We were going by the beer style, and it's like, man, they were rich and malty. They were high alcohol. You drink one of those, what was it, 32 ounces? Bigger than that, 64-ounce bottles.
They get you hammered.
Yeah,
that's why people get on there like $1.50 or something like that.
No, but there's several of them. I don't know if it's Steel Reserve. I think it's pretty good. It's actually malty by style. It's kick ass. And there's another one out there I can't remember.
In my youth, when I thought like it was just like it was almost like an image thing. I felt cool drinking a 40. So like, but I always went to Mickey's. Mickey's was my
Big
beer.
Mouths, yeah. Big Mouths.
Dude, I met a dude who like I never thought that there would be someone on the planet so dedicated to 40 ounces and malt liquor. But I met a dude with like the Mickey's on the front of the bottle. It has a hornet, right? It's like Mickey's malt liquor hornet. All right, the dude had the hornet tattooed on his shoulder. I was like, man, Mickey's is not that good.
What was the name of the podcast, Raymond, where we were teaching people to be beer judges and how to do the style guidelines?
Oh,
it was after Brewcrazy.
Yeah.
It wasn't the alcohol talking, because we do that after we recorded Brewcrazy.
Oh my God.
That was we were hammered.
Maybe I need some lessons from y'all.
But when
I'll be honest, on our beer podcast, like Adam's more the expert, and I kind of wing it. I'm no novice. I've been drinking craft beer as long as he has. I just don't know like maybe, like I said, like maybe I need to learn a thing too from y'all because I wing it.
I'm not teaching anymore. I'm just drinking. But
Yeah.
when we did that podcast on malt liquor, I remember now the one that won. We judged it like it was a beer competition with all the style guidelines, and all of us filled out the forms. Colt 45.
And 2 zigzags, baby. That's
That come to mind too.
Yeah.
That come to mind
I
too.
can't hear Colt 45 without thinking.
But Colt 45 was a damn good beer. Real malty, high alcohol. It was by style guideline. It kicked all the others. The worst was Schlitz malt liquor. It had all flavors and it was bad. And you wouldn't think it. I mean, you look at it, you see it over there off to the side in the big bottles. Like, I'm not getting that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's what I think.
But
about
it's actually
all
a good
the
beer.
40s.
You can actually warm it up. You can actually drink it at 60 degrees and it's good.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it gets more richer and maltier. Ice cold, it's not at its best.
So at the end of the night, after a long work day, you put you.
I wouldn't drink a whole one
now,
now, but if it doesn't have a screw-on lid, you can put it back on and stick it
If
in the
it doesn't
refrigerator.
taste good cold, it doesn't taste good.
No, it tastes good cold.
Look, what he's saying is at the end of the night,
It tastes
after a
good
long
cold, but
shift,
it gets better.
After a long shift, you get home, you get you a glass of Colt 45, and you put it in the microwave. No.
Why is that? Why do beers some beers tend to get better? When they get warmer?
Because they have more malt, more body, more texture. Like if it's just water and you have like a Bud Miller Coors, when it warms up, all you taste is the alcohol.
Oh yeah.
But if it's got malt and body to it, that gets stronger more than the alcohol and covers it up, and it gets much more flavor, much more complex. By the way.
Well, we're getting dry. Some of us are getting dry. Shall we go to the next bottle?
Yes.
We
Okay.
shall, sir.
All right, and now for the wine portion of this podcast. And once again, I have to thank Adam and a few other people for purchasing this wine here. This is called Dr. Henry John Lindemann's Smooth Shiraz wine here. And before I go ahead and review this, I'm going to go ahead and pour this.
And at this moment, I would like for everyone to refer to our podcast as Opinions and Wine.
No,
we're Opinions and Wine right now, Adam. You deal with it.
No, it's Ed Ray's wine segment. He doesn't drink.
On Opinions and Wine.
Okay, and now let's review this. Lindemann's Bin 50 Shiraz has been brought to life through artist David Bromley's eyes. His interpretation of bright, spicy berries has been coupled with the smooth flavors of Shiraz to bring you this contemporary, approachable style of wine which goes perfectly with food, family, and friends. And this is from Australia, southeastern Australia, and this has 13.5% alcohol by volume. And now let's sniff this.
And Ed Ray goes for the wine. He goes.
Oh, that's a very powerful smell.
See Ed Ray going for the wine. He's
And
taking a
now
sip.
to take a sip.
There he
Take a
goes.
sip.
And he scores.
Well,
you
this
gonna
is
do
while
like
this is
golf?
not while
Just
this is
wait.
not.
You
Hold
gotta-
on, let me finish. While this is not the sweetest wine, it has a very powerful taste, and I could taste some of the berries. It's a very berry aftertaste, but I think I'm gonna give this wine an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
And it gives it an 8 out of 10. No, you gotta do it like a golf commentary. You can't have that much enthusiasm.
Oh,
No.
8 out of 10.
And he gives it an 8 out
Yeah,
of
that's
10.
what I was thinking.
Okay.
No.
Patty clap. Patty clap.
He's
Moving on
pouring
to the
it.
next hole.
He's pouring it into his glass. He's got the glass in his hand now.
He's moving it up
He's
to his mouth.
Yeah. Everybody is just watching, being very still and quiet.
And now he goes onto the operating table. They're moving him to the room. He's ready for the wine enema.
He had to walk away from the mic to not laugh. Oh, we got Ed Ray to laugh.
Ed Ray, out of all the enemas you could choose, which enema would you have?
Say coffee or I'll beat you.
Cause of death.
Probably a saline enema.
Saline.
Saline.
Dude, that shit's so cold. I don't know if saline would be as cold up your rectum as it is in your bloodstream, but oh my god.
Microwave.
If it gets rid of the polyps in my colon, good.
All I know is anytime. Yeah, let the viewers digest that.
This is our medical segment.
Anytime I've ever been pumped full of saline, I'm like, you know, like, because in the movies, they're like, oh, when they're dying, they're like, I feel so cold. All right, so like whenever I get pumped full of saline, I'm like, this is it. I must be dying. I can feel my organs failing because I'm just so cold.
I've been pumped full of alcohol, but I don't know about saline.
Oh man, I hate
Maybe.
saline.
Now, Raymond, you've brought some some beers for us to try?
Sure, I brought an ice chest full.
Should I get it? Should I wash my glass? Let me get another glass.
Okay. Coming down the line is Sam Calgione's oak-aged vanilla worldwide stout.
Worldwide Stout? Yeah, we were
Worldwide
talking about
Stout.
that just a moment ago.
Yeah. It's from Dogfish Head.
Oh, yeah. See,
Out of
we
Milton,
were
Delaware.
talking about how, like, Dogfish Head was just bought out by Samuel Adams.
What's the ABV?
16 to 17.
Woo! Oh.
Yeah, it's another healthy one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't bring any light beers here, okay? Let me pour mine.
Ooh, I stood up.
Okay.
I stood up and I completely filled that beer.
Let me do the classic.
Did you
Stand up real fast.
Go wash your glass.
Oh.
So don't mix flavors.
I rinse my mouth out with water to get that strong cause of death flavor out.
Now,
Man,
John and
I
I...
can see what you mean. We had like just a few sips. This one bottle had a few sips. I stood up and I'm like toasted. Not completely toasted because
If I turn in red, I feel the blood in my face.
John and I are close personal friends with Sam Calgione, who owns this brewery, and he makes some very off-centered beers.
Oh, you're friends with the guy that...
Yeah, we personally know him. I talked to him once, okay?
Hey, when we were at the Great American Beer Festival, he was up there talking about doing big beers, and I go walking up, and he walks up to me and goes, "Johnny Max, we so are gonna party!" Boy, my head got so big. I still remember it.
I love how Adam knows to pour my beer for me, because if I did it, I'd just be like, I'm taking it all!
Yeah. What we usually do is just put these in the back for the after party show, or after show party.
Yeah.
I'm already starting to get drunk. Okay.
And then we start to get drunk.
So this, you already said this is a oak-aged vanilla worldwide stout by Dogfish Head Brewing Company. It is, what's the percentage on alcohol in
16 to
this one?
17.
16 to 17% in alcohol
This is
by
not
volume.
That far behind. Okay, well, it's
But but you know, John's is 21, 22.
Hey, Raymond.
Has anyone
Look
tried
at
it
Adam's
yet?
glass. He don't
Yeah.
understand.
My bad.
No, he poured like a third of a pint glass. You're gonna be slurring.
Yeah, by the end of the show,
Pour me some
yeah.
of yours.
Yeah, we'll drink a couple
It's the
ounces.
same.
Yeah.
And we'll go
I
through
still
like 20
got
beers.
less than you. You got like half a glass there.
These young kids.
Oh, that's
I
good.
tell you.
No, I'm gonna try this.
Yeah,
but-
there's plenty. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep up. There's plenty of other beers on that.
Oh
missing
yeah,
out.
yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and
Yeah,
try
we're
it.
old. We just can't hang. We can't drink as much.
This
as
tastes
he
like
can.
Dr. Pepper.
Does it?
Oh my
You can
God,
taste the
it
vanilla
does.
beans. They actually use vanilla beans in brewing this beer.
What the? Oh my God!
This sounds like alcoholic Dr. Pepper.
All right, now and
Well,
Oh, you just ruined it for me.
What did I?
what
I'm
is
just messing
the
Worldwide. You see that? I'm gonna bring this up on the podcast.
what's the name of the brewing company?
Dogfish Head.
Yeah, Dogfish.
Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, like
You know, they just sold Samuel Adams.
Yeah, I totally knew that.
I
Before.
didn't know
they?
that.
Yeah.
Dang.
And I was totally privy to that before Adam
Oh.
told me, because I keep up with these things.
Yeah, they just sold to Samuel Adams, and
Oh shit!
Party foul.
well, a lot of people think it's because Samuel Adams wants to get their craft beer status back, because they just lost their craft beer status because their sales for non-beer products went above their sales for beer.
Talking about like Samuel Adams shirts.
No, it's like
And
it's like
Sammy
no,
Adams
it's like
bottle
spiked
openers.
beverages.
Oh.
Spiked beverages. Apparently, their sales for that went above their beer sales, and so to try to compromise, they're apparently trying to reach out and buy companies and more beer to keep the barrels low, but then to raise their beer sales to become a craft status again.
Well, I'm really surprised Sam Calgione sold. I always called him the rock star of craft brewing. He was, man.
And he
would
is,
never
yeah.
sell.
He
yeah.
still is. He sold out. I wonder if he's staying on as CEO or something, or
I
if he's
don't
just,
know.
or if he's going
Well,
to
I mean,
get a
like-
sailboat and sail around the world or
It's
something.
possible for a company to be owned by another company and almost be not bothered. You know, he can still do his own thing. He
Well,
just has to,
if he wants to
report
maintain,
Samuel
he wants to
Adams.
maintain the style of beers they put out and the image behind it.
Like
You would have to keep
Marvel
him
is
on.
still Marvel. It may be owned by Disney, but you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like that, right?
Coming down the line is
Oh my God,
Dogfish
Raymond.
Head 120-minute
Oh,
IPA
God.
at
He's-
about 15%
He's pumping us full of
ABV.
alcohol. I accept it.
Well, this
Might
is
want another
opinions on
glass
beer,
and set
man.
that on the side because
I know.
these big beers
At
will
this-
kick.
I did. Oh,
You're
oh,
right.
you're I was gonna say, as far as my palate, at this point, I'm gonna just. I can't keep washing my glass out. You know how much can it change it? Really?
No, I just wanted to after the cause of death because I wanted to taste that vanilla.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say this though: by the time Adam and Keenan are done with this podcast, they're gonna have a tough time walking.
That's okay. That's the point of the podcast. That is literally our gimmick. As we talk about our topics on our show, we're getting sloshed.
It will turn into our old show. It's the alcohol talking.
Yes.
We have a lot of fun just on the fact that we're getting a little buzzed as we keep.
Turn over the keyboard.
Yeah. No. So why
right over the keyboard. No.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna bring up ales. I always hear that ales are easier to make than lagers. If so, how come the big beer companies only make crappy lagers?
You want me to answer, Raymond?
Go ahead.
The difference is the type of yeast. You have a bottom fermenting yeast and a top fermenting yeast. You have ale yeast and you have lager yeast. And ale yeast you can ferment at 70 degrees. Lager yeast you have to ferment real cold, like at 55, 65, and it ferments slower and it takes longer. It makes a cleaner beer, which is what you want if you don't want flavor.
Okay.
So the lagers don't have as much of the richer flavor that you have in. You get a lot of esters from the yeast, so you can change different ale yeast and they'll totally change the taste of the beer. So you're looking for yeast, like for the ESB, we use an ESB yeast, and it's a yeast that's cultivated from the same yeast that they used back in England in the 1800s. And it's been White Labs and the other one, they kind of have perfected them and separated them out. But yes, to answer the difference, the reason is they want a beer that is crisp and not much flavor. They're not going for the malt flavor. Whereas craft beers, they want flavor.
because the less the flavor,
the mass production,
the more people you're making happy.
Not everyone likes the flavorful beer. Some people want to get drunk and they don't really like the taste of beer, and that's why they buy Coors. Yeah.
I thought they don't like the taste of Coors.
There is no taste
Who
in
doesn't
Coors.
like the taste of water?
There is no taste in Coors. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it. They must reverse osmosis filtration or something. I don't know.
This feels like really orangey and hoppy.
You bring a craft beer to some I'm gonna say it. You bring some craft beer to some like white trash redneck. There's like, I love my Natty Light, and he's gonna be like, oh, well, that tastes like shit.
Well, let me tell you about this beer. This beer is a 120-minute IPA by Dogfish Head Brewing Company, and it's a real citrusy hop. And when he first did this commercially, what it is, the 120-minute IPA means that hops are to be continually added for 120 minutes during the boil of the wort. So what he did originally was you may not remember because y'all are younger, but back when I was a kid, they had the electric football games, and they would vibrate.
Dude, I had one of those.
They would vibrate, and you'd put the little. You would put the little football players with the felt bottoms, and they would vibrate forward. Well, he took that. He took that, and he was
so intense.
He took that, and he would put it on an angle, and he'd put the hops on it, and they would vibrate slowly into the thing for
you have
60 minutes. Yes.
Yeah, the yard lines and everything.
Yeah, 60-minute IPA, the 120-minute IPA, and he's constantly spreading out the hops, and it's vibrating continually into it. I'm sure he doesn't do that anymore. He probably invented something.
Measure it, he can tell how much longer he has by the yard lines.
I think he made a device that puts it into it, and it's like the Sofa King Hoppy.
I bet he's using the same thing.
Google it.
Vibrating.
Google Sofa King Hoppy.
Sofa King Hop, like the sofa vibrator.
I don't know, but that's what he called it.
Man. Now I'm just stuck on like.
I don't think they got it.
That
took me forever to catch what it really said.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be like super bitter.
No,
but it's just.
No, it's so malty. You lose a lot of the bitterness.
Yeah.
And one thing, if you try and age an IPA, the hops will dissipate. They will go away.
That's what I was trying to tell him.
My first sip, I thought it was like I tasted nothing but citrus, but it's like.
It's the hops.
Yeah, and you can taste them all. And what is this?
120-minute IPA. 120-minute IPA by Dogfish Head Brewing Company.
And it is something percentage.
21, I believe.
This is 21%.
Isn't it, Raymond?
Oh no, 15 to 15.
21%. Then that would take away the cost of death.
Well,
no, because
he's got the capability to do it. Sam Calagione, and so does Sam Adams.
Plus, John's was all grain.
What makes an IPA an IPA?
Is it?
Just the amount of hops.
A shitload of hops.
Now,
do you understand? You know the history of the IPA? What it came from in the 1800s? Whenever
please tell me it actually comes from India.
No, it's from England.
Oh
when
my
England,
God. The
when
Indian
England,
Pale Ale is from England.
when England colonized India, they would send barrels of beer in ships for the people in the colony, and they added a whole lot of hops to it because the hops have that would help preserve it and keep it from going bad because it has
they sent it to India.
And so that when they would get there, it was super hoppy. And in England, in the bars, someone got some of it and go, "Hey, well, you're sending all the good beer away." And so then they started calling it the IPA, India Pale Ale.
Pale Ale that was meant for
it was a pale ale with a bunch of hops. It was a pale ale with a bunch of hops in it.
All right, so when you're drinking American IPA, you're drinking American Indian Pale Ale made by British people. It has nothing to do with India.
That's where it started.
Yeah. Made in America.
Whatever. Well, I haven't had that one right
Yeah.
Like,
coming down the line is St. Arnold's French Press Imperial Coffee Porter. Have y'all had this before?
We have had this one before.
That looks kind of thin.
It's about 9% alcohol.
French hens.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, 4 French hens.
oh man,
3 French hens.
Yeah, it was one of the Christmassy episodes.
You got a good head.
That's
on
good.
It too.
Because
Yeah.
you
Gotta
connected
love
it
a
to
good
I poured
one
it.
of the
This glass wasn't
things and stuff.
didn't receive it well. It foamed
Oh,
up a little
okay.
bit.
But this is pretty good. This is pretty good for St.
It's a
Arnold.
real light body.
He started the brewery back in '94, and he cranked up he started the craft beer business in Houston, and it
Texas.
just spread out from here. He's a genius, man.
There was no
We had
internet.
so
He
much
would
fun
send
going
out
to the
letters.
St. Arnold's Brewery.
Yeah, he's a great man. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I've always liked him. Met him back in '94 at the Brouhaha in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, when you first meet, he's got a real dry wit because he's German. You got it. If you pay attention, you'll laugh.
Well, that's legit. Like his thing, you know. His,
Now,
brewery
was
being called
he
St. Arnold.
was he the one trying to get the laws changed in Texas?
Oh, every year.
Yes.
He was paying off Congress. I mean, no, but he did a
Every
lot.
time he shook their
He
hand,
had
there'd be a bill
people
on there.
he had people that were working and explaining, and it just finally happened, didn't it? Did they vote on it? They're supposed to.
Oh, I don't know.
Yes,
They
it just
just passed.
happened. You can sell at the brewery beer by the
that's what
case.
it
One
is.
case.
Yes.
One case.
You can sell
One
the brewery
case,
now.
yeah.
Oh, and prior to that,
Per day.
you couldn't do that.
One
Yeah,
case
that
per day.
killed us. I mean, when we had our brewery, we were in a dry county.
Yeah.
And they would allow us because we were only producing since it was a dry county, but then we found out that we could have a tasting bar, so we had the only bar in a dry county, and it was
That
out
was
in the
probably
woods.
literally around the time that
You were legal to drink?
no, yeah. Oh, no, I think maybe I shouldn't say this on the pot. Never mind. I just remember way back in the day, like I met you via me and Adam going to
Coming
your
to the brewery, yeah.
Yeah. And that was probably around that, was that around the time that you just opened up and let people come to your brewery? It was some big opening.
I don't know. When we had the
there.
grand opening, we were out in the woods. It was cool because they came out in four-wheelers.
Yeah.
They came out of the woods in
Was that
four-wheelers
the-
for
do
it,
you
half the
remember?
people.
What?
The grand opening that we went to, was it at your house?
No, it was at the brewery.
Yeah, the brewery.
Yeah. You remember?
Yeah.
Is that what he's saying? Like out in the country with four-wheelers?
Yes.
Well, people came in cars and
I want to
pickups,
say, I was
too.
so young, I don't remember, but he was younger than me. I just
This was just a few
did
years
more
ago.
substances.
How long ago was the brewery?
See, I had the brewery for 5 years, and I've been closed now for about 4. So 9 years. Time is flying.
It
It's
was
been a while.
Like,
Wow.
It was like right after
8
we
or 9
started
years.
hanging out and stuff.
8 or 9 years.
And
Can you believe that?
Since it opened.
Since it opened, yeah.
So you closed 4 years ago. Okay. How old am I?
No, I think
26.
April
Yeah,
31st.
let's go with that.
Sorry, April 31st. 3 years ago. So it's on 3.
So, cheers to just like old memories. and
I
shit,
accidentally
man.
mixed my French press with the IPA.
Yes.
And so I got a weird, like a hoppy porter that did not.
Speaking of French press,
Fry PA?
Yeah, hop. Just
to see what we think about French press, see that last episode.
porters are probably my favorite style.
Mine too.
All right, y'all gotta
Okay,
deal without
coming
my,
down the.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Come on,
Y'all
drink
gotta
up,
do
you
it out
youngins.
That's why we're telling you, don't put too much in your
I'm-
glass.
I'm seeing what it is. It's divine. This is gonna be nuts. Okay.
Divine Reserve number 14.
I'm not ready.
Right, give me
You're
some,
not
Raymond.
old enough
Well,
yet.
Raymond, I'm ready.
Looks like the youngsters. Looks like
Open
the
it,
youngsters
Raymond. can't
finish their beer.
Yeah, they were. We were smart. We're putting a couple ounces.
okay.
I'm ready, man.
I was about to go pee, but first I have
That's
to
why I
address
was laughing
Allie.
at your big old glass. Like, man,
All
you're
right,
gonna
Allie,
be
I was
slobbering
I was
all over
milking
the
my
keyboard.
shit. Just so you know,
You said you're milking your stuff. You're a cow.
just so you know, Allie, I can always chug whatever they put in my glass in one drink.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Keenan Kitchens in a nutshell.
Allie, I'm going to pee. All right, Allie?
Keenan, you're a hypocrite, Keenan.
Oh my God! I thought you were serious. I was like, why? But then I see the reference.
Divine Reserve number 14 by St. Arnolds again.
St. Arnolds.
It's a Belgian Strong Pale Ale. It's 10%. So it's a little bit lighter than what we're used to for the last 2 or 3 beers.
Ooh,
Oh shoot.
it's like Coors after the other one. No, it's got a lot of flavor. But
Yeah, oh,
but-
yeah.
Yeah, but my palate was blown with all that malt and hops.
Yeah, this one's
It'll take a minute to taste it.
a bit lighter than the 120.
Yeah.
Just a bit lighter. Not as hoppy, but it's smooth. It's like super. It's smoother. If anything.
I like it because it doesn't go overboard with banana and cloves that most Belgians do, you know?
Banana.
Yeah,
clove.
yeah.
Bananas in the what?
Flavor.
The flavor in the
It's
Belgians.
from the yeast. It's from the
really?
yeast.
Okay, I can't remember. Fat Tire released a collaboration brews, and they had some kind of yeast in it that made everything taste like artificial banana, and it's turned me off of Fat Tire. I haven't bought Fat Tire since. It wasn't. It's weird because it wasn't Fat Tire. It was like them promoting other breweries or whatever, and they put their label on it. But it was like it all used a certain yeast that tasted like artificial banana.
It's a certain type of Belgian ale yeast.
Yeah, it was.
I
They
did.
did.
I poured
I
it for
was
you.
gonna say, like, was this the last beer? Or
No,
am I
no.
with y'all?
That's the
You
new
know?
one. I poured it for you.
And what's this called? I was peeing.
Divine.
For the viewers, or not viewers,
This is the,
listener.
He was
I
making
peeing,
Budweiser.
and
Okay.
I was making course,
Okay.
and this is called Divine
Reserve.
Divine
By St.
Reserve
Arnolds.
By St. Arnolds. I heard
Number
that last
14.
week.
For those of
14.
us that can tie it in a knot, we don't have to go pee, okay?
Yeah, hey, that must have done you very. You know, that's a good talent to have during Avengers Endgame.
What?
I don't know. What? It was a funny joke. No. Now everyone made a big deal out of like, oh my God, it's a 3-hour movie. You gotta go pee. It's like we've all gone 3 hours without peeing. I never got that joke. You know.
We need to do this show again and let them pour their own beer. I started
Yeah.
pouring for them, so they're only getting like an ounce or two,
Yeah, yeah.
and then and see what happens.
No. Like,
We would be the same ones, right? That's odd.
Would seem intelligent.
I keep letting y'all pour my beer because I could be a little greedy bastard. Like I said, I was like, here, let Adam pour it. Because if I pour it, I'm like, take it all.
Yeah. In the first podcast, we did that too. But
Yeah. Then we learned.
Take you a sample.
it'd be a 4-hour show. Let's keep going,
Wait,
man.
you should pour beers. I need to like drink.
He's like, wait, let me catch up. No, I like the juggernaut that we're going through. The gauntlet.
This is actually.
Gauntlet.
Now, this is a normal beer show, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is a. So this is the breakfast stout. We've actually tried. Me and Eamon tried the breakfast stout before.
Coming down the line,
Now you tried
Founders
this beer?
Breakfast Stout.
This is one of my. This is
I like this because
Oh,
that's an
no.
episode I wasn't part of.
no. This is the episode that
You want me to pour it
Timmy.
for you? You pour too much.
Fucked up.
Yeah. Yes.
Where's Timmy?
Wait.
Pour an ounce or two.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, I'm so catching
The
up.
parties afterwards when you empty all the bottles that have like half beer in them.
Yeah, we don't have to drink all of them right now,
No,
youngins.
that's good.
But we're gonna. No.
But yeah, this.
What am I on?
See, y'all's
We,
logic is like, oh,
this
we can
one.
get really silly after the podcast.
Breakfast
And I'm like,
stout.
no, let's get silly on the podcast.
We
You know?
drank the breakfast stout during an interview with Jason Ellis. He's a professional
It
skateboarder,
totally went well. There was no
Profe-
problems with the
that's good.
interview
professional
whatsoever.
radio host, and it went downhill pretty quickly because some people couldn't hold their
I don't know what you're
alcohol.
talking about. I listened,
It wasn't you.
I listened to the podcast and I thought there was no problem.
Because I cut it. I cut the problems
And that's
out.
why you don't cut it.
Hey, well, taste this before I tell you what I taste. And I taste it, I don't know if anybody else ever tastes, but I taste it in a lot of breakfast stouts and stouts, even when
Yeah,
I
that's
brewed
straight. Oh man, that is
one.
smooth.
Taste it, Raymond.
Okay.
It's roasty. It's roasty.
Yeah, but there's a flavor that I get that I don't know if it's just my palate.
That's
is
not
on,
usual in there. Yeah.
But I get it in a lot of them, and it kind of tastes almost like poblano peppers.
Yes.
Or
Nah, I mean, I'm not.
now
A
taste
peppery
it.
taste.
It's
to
like
it.
a green pepper flavor. It's from the yeast. It's got to be
You
because I have not figured out where that flavor comes from. I've had it in quite a few beers.
I can get a distinct. It's distinct for me.
Yes, it is for me too.
If you ever
Now
have,
I apologize for telling you that because now it's going to stand out forever.
know.
It's going to stand out forever. You'll taste it in a lot of breakfast
Usually,
stouts
I'm
and
that guy
stouts.
that's like, you know what? That brings
I'm
me
glad
to
it's not just me.
an
That's
anecdote of I used to drink, and this is back in the day
Well, I
when
had
I
a-
thought.
I had to remember what green peppers tasted like, and I was like, yeah.
It's like a poblano.
I know, yeah. I rarely eat them, so
I
So
know.
I had to
way
remember.
back in the day when I was younger, and I was just becoming aware that there was stronger, more better tasting beer than Bud Light. You know?
Yeah.
And
That's not a tasting beer. But
yeah.
Unless you get it hot.
All right, well, so I was young,
Yeah, I know.
and I thought I was cool and hip, and I was like, oh, I can
Yeah, I
handle
started
way
out
much
lame, too.
more stronger beer than you, because I drink Sam Adams, you know, and you drink only Bud Light. You're a poon, and I'm strong. You know, that's like.
Well, that's
my
actually a
logic when I
factual
was a
statement.
kid.
That's a real
That is a
factual
factual statement.
statement you
Oh.
just made. You're right on.
Yeah. Well, and I was a kid thinking that. All right, but I drank Boston Lagers all the time. I buy them in 12 packs, you know. And someone's like, I was like, dude, try
They
this.
sell them in 12 packs?
They used to. I remember it was like a box of it.
Maybe. I only buy it in a 6-pack.
Oh,
I haven't
back-
seen it in
back
12 pack in a while.
Oh, I remember like the
maybe
whole
not
12 pack
anymore.
with the easy open
It's like
top.
I'm telling you.
I remember the easy open top of the Samuel Adams 12 pack.
I think they're trying to stay craft. They want to.
Yeah, I
they
think
want to
way
stay in the
back-
title of craft, so they've cut some production down.
Back in the day, they were getting
Yeah.
bigger and bigger, and now they're winging it back. But at their prime of fucking volume, that's when you can find a 12 pack with, you know, I remember because it was like
gonna talk about
first
it?
time I
Yeah.
seen that easy open top, you know. Anyways, I showed a friend my Samuel Adams Boston Lager. Like, look, quit being a bitch. Try this. You know, and like forget Anheuser-Busch. You know, and try this. And he's like, dude, this is the saltiest beer I've ever had. And I was like, no. And I popped open.
But
a
Sam Adams
lager.
was the
Yeah.
beer that introduced America to hops.
Yeah, it was.
It's not a hoppy beer compared to all the beers now, but it had hops.
It's like what
where
you
nothing
said
had
reminded me
hops.
of
Nothing
that
else had
story.
hops.
Because as soon as he said that, I started drinking my Samuel Adams lager, and I was like,
salty.
oh my god, it is the saltiest beer
Oh,
I've ever had. And he
erase that from
he
my
ruined
mind.
It. He ruined it. I had not had a Boston lager since, and I was like 17 when that happened.
Well,
I'm
I drank
30
enough
now.
that I won't remember that statement, so I'm good.
Like, so no, just, and like, dude, I wrote off Samuel Adams as like a true craft beer. At that moment, I realized that they're like a mass production company trying to fake being a craft beer. But since then, like, I've gotten old, like, I've tried.
Well, it's
great
a good
Samuel
thing
Adams.
someone didn't tell you it tastes like shit. Then you'd be tasting shit in it.
Yeah.
You're so
I'm so
sensible.
convinced that this is what species taste like.
All right, you want to talk about it, Ray?
Yeah, the breakfast stout is ABV 8.3, so it's more of a Keenan beer than it is anything else.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's a beer.
it's on the lower end.
No, that's
What
a
are
good
you
beer.
trying to say?
That's a good beer.
And it's you got some coffee in there.
Yeah.
It's a stout, so you're gonna get some roasted malts in there. So it's typical, and it's an oatmeal stout, which I love oatmeal stouts.
Now,
Okay?
I apologize for mentioning the pepper flavor. I just thought it was just me, but you tasted
No,
it.
no,
too.
it's there.
It's there.
I've never mentioned it to anybody
It's
because
so
I didn't
odd.
want.
I never thought about looking for it.
It
It's
just
why.
stood out for me one day. I don't know why. I wish it wouldn't have.
And if you ever tasted a pepper beer, you'll know what
Oh,
I'm
I've done
talking
pepper
about.
beers. Jalapeno.
Yeah.
Yeah, this breakfast stout has 60 IB. It has quite a good bit of hops in it for a stout. Stouts tend to be on the more smoother, less hops side of things recently.
But it's subdued. The way you get a stout is you have roasted malt. on our Texas Crude, we would have roasted malt that's like, it makes an amber beer, a real amber beer 60, but we would put in a little bit of black malt where the barley is roasted till it's black, and it would give it that rich coffee flavor. Just like they would roast it like you roast coffee beans.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I totally got that roasted flavor.
What's the biggest difference between? I've been trying to understand it. The porters and stouts are porters stouts? Are they just less darkened stouts?
You got that?
Well, a stout is a little bit drier.
Okay.
A porter is a little bit sweeter. It's basically the yeast that you use.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But a stout is drier. Would you say, Raymond?
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's a little bit more. It's sort of like a porter on steroids. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a stout. It used to be called a stout porter.
That's why I was confused because I've seen that terminology.
Yes.
I'm like, what's the biggest difference? I guess
they're really close though. They're really close.
So do you basically for stouts do you roast the malt longer?
Well, you buy them roasted.
Oh,
I mean, as a home brewer, I've roasted some before, just to do it. But I don't have the control that they have when you buy it.
Back in the 1700s, 1800s, they just used to call it a stout porter. And I remember when they came up with the term. John does too. Okay.
Now,
John is silent.
Is going all the way back to the cause of death. You said you were looking up. What year was it? About the
It was in the mid 1800s.
Yeah.
See, back in the 1800s, they were doing lots of studies on beer because it was really important.
There were studies on yeast and CO2.
It was yeast mortality. It was studies on what kills yeast.
But you mentioned
because
CO2.
they didn't
like,
have.
How could they have concentrated? Like CO2 is such. Like it's a bottle of air. You know, how did they have a bottle of air in 1800?
Whenever you're making beer and the yeast start fermenting, yeast consume sugar.
Yeah.
And they piss out alcohol and fart out CO2.
Yeah. Fart out CO2.
They fart out
there
CO2. So all those bubbles that come out of a beer are yeast farts.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's CO2.
And I was like,
so you got some people shake it to release it so that the yeast don't die from it.
I immediately started to think like, oh no, like no one in the 1800s can know what CO2 is.
I think they were a lot smarter back in the 1800s than we are today, even without the internet, especially when it comes to fermenting beer.
Yeah, just think Atlantis.
They didn't have the cell phone distraction. They didn't have.
Atlantis had electricity.
Adam.
What? Did Atlantis not have electricity?
No, the fictional civilization did not.
Hey, here's something to think about. They were so much smarter about brewing beer back in the 16, 17, and 1800s that we're now trying to copy the beers they brewed.
Yeah, because they were trying to make it good, not trying to make a profit.
No, they were trying to make a profit.
You remember you did that one time. Just brewed it at the colonial 1700s.
I brewed a porter based on the diary from George Washington.
No shit.
And that's the time that I had the pot and I browned my barley in the pot over a fire, and then I took the water, brought it to a boil, and George Washington said, as soon as you can see your reflection in the water, dump the barley in. Because we use thermometers. It's got to be the right temperature.
It's like his own personal notes on
beer. They brewed. It's out there. I think maybe somebody, I don't know if it's Sam Calagione or somebody's brewed it commercially.
He didn't say anything in his journey about his hemp farm, did he?
No.
Oh my goodness.
He may have had one. I don't know. It wasn't against the law then.
That's the rumor.
But that was the first article I got published, and it was brewing a beer, and I went back in time.
What?
And I was brewing with George Washington and everything, and that got me published.
Oh, that's a beautiful sound.
Yeah, coming down the line is the Cholo Stout by Marble Brewing Company out of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
I haven't seen this one. We've done 2 hours, 3 hours. Whenever we're done.
There's no time.
We've done 3 hours.
This is a special event.
I don't think we posted the 3-hour one, but we posted the 2-hour one.
Part 2.
But I got still more beer.
This is Opinions and Beer equivalent to a pay-per-view episode.
Definitely our holiday episodes are always long.
And when Raymond brings an ice chest full of craft beer, that really does help.
You should
And Raymond always does
that. What if you came up with names for
you
your
poured
episodes?
too much again.
No, it's not. It's good. Look, it's perfect.
Rookie mistake.
No, it's perfect.
Are you driving home? Your wife's here, right?
I told my wife to pick me up.
No, a little more, Mr. Perfect.
Ooh, that's good.
That
Creamy.
is not bad.
What the hell is
a
that?
Cholo Stout by Marble.
Cholo. Oh my God.
Where's
Is it
this
milk stout?
located?
New Mexico.
New Mexico. I have not seen this company at all.
I was out at Big Bend last month and I saw that.
There's chili in it.
He sent me a lot. He sent me and Mark a lot of pictures of people crossing the
chili in
border.
this?
No, I'm just
You don't
saying,
taste it?
like, no, like when you get real like Mexican craft beer. All right, of course you got
Smells
your.
good.
It was
you
brewed
got
by
your
an American.
Coronas, and you got your Dos Equis, and those taste like beer flavored beer or water flavored beer. But you get those Mexican craft beers, and they always have chili in it. Like, hey, try our spicy beer.
Cholo
I'm
Stout.
Like, I don't like spicy beer, man.
6.9% in alcohol by volume.
There you go.
What does that remind you of, Raymond? It's not on the label. I'm surprised. It reminds me of a milk stout.
Yes, it's, it's very creamy,
yeah.
very
Very
smooth. Yes, you're right.
Dude, like I was sipping it as you were saying that.
What?
Don't mean that they didn't put lactose in it.
Yeah, that's yeah.
You know, they don't put milk in it. They put lactose in it. And
To
it
keep
makes
the
it real
sugar.
It makes it
flavor.
real creamy. It's not fermentable. It's a milk sugar that is not fermentable. So you don't have to put a lot, but it'll remain there and it'll keep it sweet and creamy.
Yeah.
Yo, this stout is all
beer.
sick, Holmes. It rides low and slow with
Oh
a
my
dark
God.
blend of roasted malts.
Racist segment of our show.
And bounces high with a pop of bright Pacific Northwest hops.
Adam.
You had to read it like that. It's written that way.
That's so fucked up.
No, it's written that way.
Look, Mexicans are people too.
It's
They're
called
not all
Cholo.
essays and vatos.
That's how it's written.
And they're not all
It
illegals
is
too.
yo. It says yo.
It says yo.
First word's yo.
And the proper term is
Yo.
Hispanics.
Yo,
Yo.
that's racist.
The stout. The stout is awesome. No.
No, it is very good. I love milk stouts. That was your favorite, I thought, Raymond.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
years.
For years, the milk stout.
Left Hand.
was Left Hand Brewing Company. Yes, which we visited up in Colorado.
Yeah,
I almost
yes.
remember that.
Left Hands is really good.
Yes.
Left Hands is really good.
That was
I
his
think-
favorite.
yeah, at least
Is it still your favorite?
We
or is
had
it,
him.
it was
you know,
forever. It's hard to have a favorite with so
hard to
many.
have right now. There's hard to have a favorite.
You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
was,
Now that we know
no,
all,
no,
we know
no,
all the
no.
crap.
We just had
know.
a Mexican. We just had a Mexican stout by Sombrero,
Yeah,
and
the
it was not
chocolate
good.
One, the chocolate stout.
Chocolate Mexican stout.
Yeah, it was not good. Well, you didn't taste the chocolate. It was there for the bitterness. I realized that after drinking it. Still, was not good.
This coming. Keenan thought that oatmeal stouts had
was gonna taste like oatmeal. Like what the fuck?
You do put oatmeal in it. It
I
does
know,
give it
but
a
I was
creamy
like,
flavor.
What are we doing here, bro? Oatmeal. He was like oatmeal stout, and I was like, yeah, like a beer made by Quakers. That's
for,
what I want.
malted oats, bro.
My-
It's malted oats.
My favorite homebrew is an ESB, and it has, for 10 gallons, it has 2 pounds of oatmeal and 2 pounds of flake corn. You can buy flake corn. I've actually brewed it with unsugared cornflake cereal, basically the same thing. And I have also brewed it with cornmeal, but you've got to heat it up to certain temperatures and change it so that it converts the sugar in it so that it will ferment. But not a lot, just enough that it adds a grainy flavor. A lot of the grainy flavors you get in beer is actually corn, because it'll give a strong grainy flavor. But you don't want too much, because then it'll be a corn beer.
That sounds bad.
How can someone mass produce sours? Isn't sours made with wild yeast?
You can actually buy it. You buy the yeast.
Oh, really?
Buy the sour ale yeast. You can steal yeast from bottles if you homebrew. I brewed a Chimay, and I bought a Chimay, and I drank all. I got it real cold, so that all the yeast settled to the bottom, and then I poured it off very slowly and drank it. And I guess the last few ounces I put in a starter with wort, and it took off bubbling very slow. I'd swirl it in a circle so that all the yeast would go to the center. I'd see little bubbles in the middle start bubbling up, and then I brewed a Chimay with Chimay yeast.
Now, when you say wort, I've been wondering what you meant.
No,
about
wort.
that.
Wort?
Yeah,
Wort is when you're brewing, you take and you put the barley, which is partially modified. What that means is it started to sprout. As soon as the barley starts to sprout and the little sprout is about to come out of the seed, it produces enzymes. And so when you put it in water, you run it through a mill and crush it so that the meat of it can get to the water. You put it in water. What's the temperature, Raymond?
Hang on.
Drawing a blank.
Yeah. Put in water. Meat? What? Meat?
Whenever you're doing a sugar conversion.
154, I think. 154.
The higher the temperature, the less conversion. The lower, the better conversion. So you get more fermentable sugars. So you put the barley in the hot water, and then it activates those enzymes that are produced when it starts to sprout. And what those enzymes do is it converts it tastes like flour. What do you?
Yeah, it's a meal. It's an oatmeal.
It tastes like oatmeal. When you first put it in there, it tastes like oatmeal. It's real starchy. It converts the starch, which is a complex sugar, into a simple sugar.
152 to 154, yes.
So whenever it starts to convert, it'll taste like oatmeal, but after about 20-30 minutes, it tastes like candy sugar.
And that's your wort?
And now when you wash all of that water out and leave the grain through a filter, and that's the wort. It's the converted starch to sugar, and it's very, very sweet, very, very fermentable. I don't know how in the hell they figured it out. I mean, it was back, they didn't even know what yeast was. They would have a paddle. This paddle makes good beer. It had a yeast in it, and when they would stir and mix, like, man, and it would be a family heirloom, and they'd pass the damn thing down. They didn't even know what yeast was.
The whole time?
Well, it was yeast that was in the paddle.
Yeah.
And then once they figured it out. But I hope I wasn't too complicated, but whenever you put the barley in the water, 155 degrees.
Like that.
And just like that, the air compressor kicks on. Someone pull the plug. Thank you.
And that was a good wake-up call, ladies and gentlemen.
Alright, so we're going to restart the whole episode.
Yeah, so
You like that?
No, that was Raymond. He's got bad stomach issues.
Come down the line is.
Excuse you.
So real
Raymond.
quickly, you take the barley, it converts the starch to sugar, and you wash it out, and the sugar water that comes out of the barley is the wort. And that's what you add the hops to, and you cool it down, then you add the yeast, and it makes beer.
Okay, coming down the line is Crying Eagle's Hop Blooded IPA.
Oh, that's from Louisiana.
Yeah, that's a Lake Charles. A couple of the Brew Club brothers that John and I were in, and I'm still in there.
Go ahead.
He is one of the brothers is the head brewer, and a couple of other brothers kind of help out.
The Louisiana Brewing Company.
Yeah, out of Crying Eagle.
Good Time Brewers.
Good
right?
Time Brewers. There you go. There you got it.
Now I just joined the yacht club in Lake Charles, and when they have beers that don't weigh right, we get them.
Yeah,
excellent. You know what that means? Don't weigh right?
Yeah.
It means it's not a full fill.
What is stone fruit?
I don't know the stone fruit, but there's a hot.
Ask a prostitute.
There's a blood orange. I'm wondering if a blood.
No, it says citrus and stone fruit.
I don't know what a stone fruit is.
What a thing to add.
Google it.
Look, you're breaking my balls here. You keep getting bigger glasses than me.
How?
Like you so have so
This
much.
is the perfect
It's just
glass.
it's just shaped different, bro.
No, look. That is like
Very
glass.
cloudy.
Okay.
It's the same.
Adam versus Keenan, the battle of the drunks.
Yeah, you might be right.
Oh my god.
I have this second beer.
Exactly.
So fuck you.
Oh my
Was
god.
that a palate cleanser?
Yeah, it practically is. It's so light
You can
flavor.
cleanse your palate with a Bud Miller Coors beer. If you're judging,
Well, that's
it's
a
about like water.
That's a Carbach Love Street. He's
but it's
cleansing his palate.
It's a citrus ale.
That
That's
won't
so
cleanse his
light.
palate.
It's a citrus ale so light it cleanses your palate.
Okay, the Hop Blooded IPA was brewed with a rock and roll band that actually does home brewing. Hop Blooded. What was the name of that band? Come on.
Oh god.
Metallica.
No.
That would work. That'd be awesome if it was.
Is it blooded?
Hot Blooded.
Check it and see.
Hot
Gotta
blooded.
feed
Yes.
103. I haven't a clue, but I know the song.
I see what they did there. I don't remember.
Can you pick him up? He's behind the fence.
Oh, you know what he's doing?
Makes Budweiser's.
Yeah.
Keenan, I know you're making Budweisers, but shout to me your answer of who that band is. Hot blooded. Who? Motley Crue? Nope. No Motley Crue.
No, that's before them.
Oh shoot.
What, 70s, 80s?
It'd be 70s, 80s. Yeah, you're
Was
right.
it Boston or
Nikki-
someone like
Nikki
that? It was
Sixx?
around the time of Boston. I don't have a clue.
No, it's
Rod
before. No, Rod Stewart.
Hey, Rod Stewart!
People on your show is going answering and screaming.
They're screaming.
Yeah.
Scream.
I think it was Cannibal Corpse.
No, Hot Blooded.
Only if you've
I know
got
that
50 and
song.
60-year-olds listening.
God.
Yeah.
Okay. Foreigner.
Oh my God!
It's the same time as Boston.
I forget that Foreigner made other songs. Besides that one.
These kids are killing me.
Which one?
Didn't Foreigner sing Double Vision?
Yes, they did.
Yep.
Which is what we're doing right now.
With that double vision.
See, you should have answered, Ed Ray.
As
1416.
a young buck, there's one Foreigner song that I know and love.
What?
I'm failing to remember.
But you know and love it.
Hey, Ed Ray, I saw you on a movie offered on Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah?
I did.
What's your opinion on it?
I thought it was pretty good.
Okay.
Wife fell asleep, but she always does.
Just during sex with you. That's
Okay, I
all.
haven't tried this
How
hot blooded
in
IPA
God's
yet.
name do you spell Foreigner?
Just type it in and Google will correct it for you if you're
There's
close.
a random G in there. It's like Forgener.
Yeah, that's it. Foreigner. And then he's like,
Foreigner.
no, it's foreigner, man.
And this is what happens when you get drunk, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
No, it's Foreigner.
I like this blooded IPA.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
We're getting lighter. We started off with the big
I
one,
know
and now we're lightening
I feel like
off.
they're getting lighter each beer.
Because y'all get more interesting in
Oh,
the
no.
big beers.
I
I'm a
told you
big
that's
beer
why we
connoisseur.
do our show the way we do. Like, as we go on with the episode, we're getting more fucking tossed. And the view, and I keep saying viewers, like we're still doing YouTube, and the listeners love it. You know?
And it helps with Raymond bringing an ice chest of craft beer. He is a
Raymond
craft
did.
beer connoisseur, man.
Raymond, ice
And
chest of beer.
when he busted out, he's like, "Check out all I got," and I was like, "That lucky."
You'll need to have
bastard."
Rabel episodes,
I didn't know
man.
he had it like literally for the show.
Yes.
I thought like that was just his.
No, we
beer,
can't.
the
We can't
coast
afford to
on
do
for
this
the
all
rest
the
of
time. We used to do this for fun, but we were drunks then. Now we're professionals.
I've actually gotten
Professional drunks.
I've actually gotten banned from a house, I think, from taking. Well, I was given a beer from someone's chest. It turns out it wasn't their chest to give the beer to, but I was still kicked out of the party because I took a crap. It was the only beer that wasn't a Bud Light or a Corona.
And he's like,
I gotta-
bro, like, what the fuck, bro? I'm not.
I gotta clarify something.
I've
Was
seen
Foreigner
that.
there when they
For
brewed
it.
that beer?
Was it? I'm sorry.
Was Foreigner actually
Yes,
there?
they
when
were
brewed
there.
That beer?
I missed
I
that.
almost missed that. Man,
I
were
had
there at
something
the
else
brewery,
going that
Prime Eagle.
weekend. I had something else going that weekend.
damn it, man.
Yeah. Foreigner was there brewing the beer.
Crying Eagle's a newer company, huh?
Well, a couple of years.
Okay.
3 years old now. Is it 3
Yeah,
years?
but they did a lot of things right. Their brewery is bar none better than a lot of others are.
And they're in Lake Charles. And Lake Charles, the government of the city and the people put a lot of money into tourism and everything. And they are incorporated into that. They brought them in and just welcome and love them and help them. And it's a great environment. We go to Lake Charles almost every week and spend the night.
Louisiana isn't really known for its craft. Yes, it is. Abita, huh? No.
Well, Abita,
Yeah,
Abita was they're on the north side of Lake Pontchartrain. It was a bunch of home brewers back in the day, and they
Yeah.
started a brewery.
One of our ex-podcast people
What's
almost
the,
got into it, remember?
What's a state that
Yeah.
sucks with beer?
Rhode Island,
I bet you Rhode Island has good beer.
Florida.
I bet you Mississippi. I haven't seen any beer from Mississippi.
I think Florida just has.
It goes by laws. It goes by the laws.
Yeah.
The laws really hamper.
Huh? Florida has a breakfast, a bacon maple stout. It's probably one of the best stouts I've ever had.
I was just going on
Bacon
the
beer.
redneck reputation
Yes.
of Florida.
Bacon beer.
I thought about trying one as a home
Yeah,
brewer.
he's
I'd do
tried
anything.
one. He's the only one amongst us that has.
What?
apparently. Tried a bacon maple stout beer.
No, anyone that's gone
sounds
to
familiar.
Disney World would have
Yeah.
tried it.
I mean, at this table, Adam.
Okay. I bet you're saying.
Oh,
in
hey,
general.
remember Raymond? I had gone to Epcot Center and I went to the England area where they had a pub, and I got one of the beers and I got a glass. But outside they had one of the old red like phone booths, and it actually worked. So I went there and I called my phone and I got the number. So when we would do podcasts, we would call that number, and
No.
and then
That's so genius.
people would be there like, "Hey,
Adam.
Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's there anymore.
Apparently, like,
I don't have the number. I don't.
Apparently you go once a year.
Yeah.
Get the number.
Yeah.
Get the number.
It's genius.
Take me next year.
Good live show.
Just amusing thought.
Okay, coming down
And I'll
the.
get the number.
Oh, we got another one. I was about to pour some more.
Yeah. Coming down
doesn't want us to
the
sober up
row
now.
is Seven Spanish Angels by Brazos Brewing Company out of Brenham, Texas.
Ah, there's a lot of
Yeah,
What is this?
yeah,
Seven
6.5%
Spanish
alcohol.
Angels.
I haven't seen this.
It tastes. I've tasted this before. It tastes real similar to Southern Stars. Remember that they're to me they're
Let me taste it now.
okay. Taste it and see. Southern Star out of Conroe.
Ooh,
It
it's a coffee ale. These are starting to get popular too.
Yes,
Ooh, very, very creamy.
Coffee,
I like it.
What the hell?
I like it. I
Coffee
like it.
ales and coffee blondes are
It's
starting
light,
to grow
creamy,
in
and
popularity.
sweet.
I hadn't tried a coffee blonde
You
yet.
haven't tried a coffee blonde?
No.
Who's just? I think UFO's making
Gee,
one right now.
I'm thinking
Okay.
if you
UFO
put.
might be making one, and
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. Like, we tried some on
Yeah,
it,
but
so,
if you put dark malt in a blonde, it's not a blonde no more.
yes, yeah, okay. So UFO for Christmas released a Dunkin' Coffee Porter, and now they're releasing a Dunkin' Coffee Blonde.
Wow.
So they're doing a coffee blonde.
Well,
with
they're-
Dunkin'.
Is it a blonde that they're actually putting coffee in?
Yes.
No, it's
Okay.
saying it's their way of saying like it was blonde.
Because they
then we
teamed
added
up with
coffee,
Dunkin'
Now it's
Donuts.
not blonde no more.
It's actually Dunkin' Donuts coffee as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, they're advertising like it was a
We'll
blonde
say-
at one point. Then we added coffee. Now we got something different.
That's
It's a
good.
Coffee blonde. You know.
What is this? This is good.
Seven
What?
Spanish Angels.
By Brazos Brewing
Seven
Company.
Spanish
Spanish
Angels.
It's kind of like kind of that mild sweetness.
I don't know the words.
Like
I
almost
can-
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watermelon.
In the valley of the gun.
When did Keenan
coffee.
grow a twin? I'm seeing two of them right now.
Oh my god.
Oh,
This is good.
You took singing lessons, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, you were sick that day.
It's like stereo hearing him sing.
I can't sing either.
This is
Someone else signed me up. I did not.
this is
show up.
oddly
Yeah.
really. I actually really like these. All the coffee stuff. Maybe I'm just a fan of coffee. Maybe I don't like beer. I like coffee. All my.
That's all right too. I do too.
Well, you can get a coffee flavor from roasted
Well,
barley.
no,
There's
that's
no
not
coffee.
fair because you're.
But you don't get the caffeine.
I am not that alcoholic that wakes up in the morning like, oh man, I need a beer. But I wake up in the morning like, oh man, I will stab a motherfucker for a cup of coffee right now.
Oh my goodness.
Like, dude, when I do not have coffee at my house, I walk to the corner store. Not even if I don't have money in my pocket, I have this sweet get up with my corner store. My corner store.
Oh my
It's very
God.
much mine.
Oh my god.
And I go there without a dime in my pocket, and I'm like, bro, you know,
You have a
like,
coffee stout?
Yeah, no, like an addict, I'll scratch in my face like, bro, I swear, if you give me a cup of coffee today, I will surely pay you on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Wimpy.
And they do.
Yeah, you're old enough, you know Wimpy from Popeye. That's pretty cool,
At
man.
this given moment, I owe my corner store no less than $9.50 because I've gotten that much free coffee from them.
9 cups.
Work it, man.
Yeah,
Work
no,
it.
it's $1.50. You do the math. I think I'm at $10, but I'm gonna give them $9.50 because I found out when I get paid. They asked me what I owe them. I was like, "Oh, dude, I thought you were keeping count." You know, and I know I'll owe them $10, but I'm like, I think I owe you $8. You know.
21 IBUs. What's the percentage on this one?
6.5, I think.
6.5%. This is probably one of my favorite of the lighter beers.
Lighter beers. Yeah.
Oh man, I thought that was gonna be silent.
Oh my god.
So my point is, like
Wind
coffee
direction.
and beer, I do not go to my corner store and be like, "Oh, please give me a beer." Yeah.
I just want to keep saying Seven Spanglish Angels. Really good. I like this one. You don't like it? Have you tried it?
What is it?
It's the cold brew
It's
coffee.
Eagle Hop.
You know, I had a horrible cold brew coffee IPA. Who made that?
It's literally called Seven Spanish Angels.
Yes.
Yes.
That is so cool.
No, we were just messing with you, man.
I thought you were
Just to get you singing.
singing Willie Nelson and Ray Charles.
Anyway, what are your thoughts on everything?
I think a lot of the beer that you tried seems very interesting, but you know me, I can't stand beer personally.
What?
More for
Beer
us.
loves you.
That's great.
You may not like
Well, it
beer.
sucks that y'all like beer. We have to share.
Yeah.
This one's really good. Look.
Let your sweet bride try it.
Here, my sweet bride.
7 Spanish Angels.
I really like this one.
There's 7 Spanish angels that died for that beer.
Yeah, it's coffee blonde. Well, coffee ale. I assume it's a blonde. It's like a red ale.
Angels.
They literally put the corpse of 7 Spanish angels in the brewing process.
Cold brewed coffee ale.
Like supernatural style. They get an angel blade and they stab the angel.
I wonder
Sorry,
who,
you have to see supernatural.
Where'd you get the 7 Spanglish from?
Is it when you went down to the Rio Grande Valley? Big Ben?
No, that was I did go on the way to there, but Brenham is Central Texas.
Oh, he sent back a bunch of pictures of how many people are just coming right into Texas across the border. It was constant. It was a steady, all over the place. Right, Mark showed them
$2 per.
You seen that?
flat. No, I did not.
You were letting them in.
No,
You're letting them in.
Here's a road map of Texas.
Road map of Texas.
Here's
I love
where, with
everybody.
all the craft breweries marked on.
Ed Ray, you're the kind of guy that would lead all the people in, right?
I'd have to call Alex Jones first and find out for myself.
Oh my God!
Isn't that the conspiracy theorist guy?
Yes.
He got banned
well,
from YouTube.
He's
or
banned from
something.
YouTube, Facebook,
is he?
Twitter, everything. He's
That's
banned
why
from
you don't
everything.
hear from him.
He was taking off everything.
Because he's on top of his
But
shit.
you still see the bumper stickers around here.
Coming down the line is Madusa by
Coming down the line is something to get you more attracted.
What is this?
Madusa by Copperhead Brewing Company.
Now we've actually had a Copperhead Brewing Company beer before.
Oh
it
yeah.
Oh,
was
I like your
Copperhead
glass,
Brew.
man. That's snazzy.
oh yeah, you like this Texas Big Brewery beer brewery.
I wonder why he likes
Ooh,
Texas Big Brewery.
that's
This
got
is his brewery.
It's a Belgian quad.
been there, done that.
Belgian quad.
It's so good
Alcohol.
That's what
by,
I'm tasting.
That connection.
Yeah, alcohol by volume 10.5. Okay, take it lightly,
You
Keenan.
cannot
10.5.
taste it. You cannot
What is
taste the
10.5?
alcohol.
Oh
in
God, he's down in it. He downed it.
Why'd
He
you do
downed
that?
it. Oh yeah.
Likely.
Take it lightly.
And I seen it as a challenge. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Opinions in Beer.
Yeah, in about an hour, I'll
It has
post
like
a
a-
video
I-
of him
I-
on YouTube. I'll probably get a
I haven't
million.
tasted it yet, but
Yeah.
No,
I can only
growing
assume-
up, I went to jail.
I can only assume cherries are in
I'm not
this.
about that life anymore.
Maybe not, but it's the. What does this remind me
I
of?
just smelled it.
What's that old Belgian beer
It
that
smells
they
like
always?
like cherry cough syrup. Smells.
It's sweet, very sweet.
It's sweet?
It's
Okay.
sweet. It's like they put a lot of Belgian candy to it.
I'm gonna try this
Well,
beer.
for real, give me a little sip.
A little sip.
But like to actually taste and review it.
You downed the last
Yeah,
one.
because I seen it as a challenge. You're like, take it easy.
Oh, what's the name of that? I'm
Yeah.
drawing a blank.
I felt attacked.
What's the
You're
old
going to give the old
Belgian
man the
beer
advantage.
Huh?
Like
There's
that,
a
man.
Belgian beer that was very.
What? Why don't they put in
That
this?
always have it in a glass like this at the bars.
Oh, Chimay.
No, it wasn't the Chimay. It
What's
was
later
it
in
was-
12? There's no.
It was more expensive than Chimay. It was
more
hard- it was
expensive than
hard-
Chimay.
It was hard to get.
Old
I can't-
Rasputin.
No,
I'm
no,
joking.
this is
That's
an old-
good
this
beer.
is an old-
That
this-
is a good beer, though.
This is an old school beer. I mean, they had it forever back when they didn't even have craft beer here.
Look, there's
I
two
can't remember
different
it. I can't remember it.
perceptions of those
with
who can
an S.
handle their alcohol. There's those who act right and those who lose consciousness.
You're somewhere in the middle.
No, I'm just straight up. I don't act right, but I will not lose consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah.
As his head
Exactly,
hits.
somewhere in the
I
middle.
do.
Yeah.
No,
Somewhere in the
I'm
middle,
not
I nailed
I
it.
absolutely do not act right.
As Keaton's head hit the floor, hit the
Like,
table.
you're like, oh, you can't handle your shit. Fuck you, I did not pass out once that night. Dude, you went to jail. But did I pass out?
Nobody passes out in jail.
Oh my God.
You know, like, oh, you can't handle your shit. I know what they mean. Like, Keenan, you act dumb. Yeah, I do act dumb. But I was conscious the whole time. Yeah. That makes it worse. Tomato. Yeah.
It sucks that Eamon's missing this. He would have loved this episode.
Oh, if Eamon was part of this, I wouldn't be here.
Why?
Because there wouldn't be any room for me to talk.
Okay. But This what's in this beer? Is it just like a certain berry or like a?
It's Belgium, which is
It's just Belgian. It's the yeast that gives it that flavor.
Oh
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
There's no citrus? I taste
No, it's the
citrus.
yeast.
No, that's not. It's citrus.
Wait.
You must be- I think you're mixing your beers. 'Cause this is very like a very fruity almost.
Oh yeah, Belgians are very fruity. Okay,
Yeah, I just assume. Like,
John, you want to talk about this beer?
Oh, I hated that beer.
Look, every time
I
Is
love
that even drinkable?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Wait, what? What are we drinking right now?
Raymond, this can't be good. You hope you kept it cold. It's not a high alcohol beer. Brewed so
No,
long
no,
ago.
it's been in my
Raymond named
garage.
this beer.
Raymond named this beer.
Yes.
So that's a Raymond beer?
Busting breast cancer.
The name of it is Second Base.
Second base hell. Yeah, he asked me. He said, "Hey, I'm." John came over, and he comes over quite often.
Monumenting titties.
Yes, you're right.
It's a beer to save the boobies.
This is
Yes, and he says, "Go ahead, go ahead."
this is a titty beer.
I want.
Okay.
I want and we had proceeds that went to breast cancer and a lady that was writing
And
a book
it
on
was
how to avoid
made
it.
with
and
breast milk. No,
How
I'm
do, you,
joking.
how do you set up something like that?
you just call people, say, if I brew beer, can I give you some part of my money?
And
And then they
never
support
say
you.
no.
No, they
And they
support
take
you.
that.
They support you and they help promote it. That actually damn tastes pretty
I
damn
mean,
good,
oh,
right?
this
Really, I hadn't
What?
tasted it. I've been afraid to.
That actually is pretty damn good. It's a real light ladies beer.
I think you can call it a religious section.
But I was asking Raymond, I said,
Whoa,
man,
bro,
I said, I want to
that's
make
it.
a beer
Come on,
and have
bro.
proceeds to go to help fight breast cancer. And he said,
Well,
me.
He said- he said, name it second
Well,
base.
to me.
And I was kind of dense. I never understood that second base
you have
is
a
getting
different-
to second base.
Yeah, getting to fill boobies.
Yeah, you get to second base, you're like hand on boobies.
Quit.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's-
what? Oh, what?
Of course, I was about
Oh
45
my
years
God.
old when I
We have
got
two
to
conversations
second base.
going on.
I think we should end the podcast.
No.
The fact that
and-
you
Oh,
think
this
that
is
we should
good.
do
This
the
is
podcast
damn good,
means
right?
that's a
Oh
very
my
good
God, this is
podcast,
good.
so we can keep it going.
To be
Dude.
4 years old to be a light beer and good, that's
All right, I'm
ridiculous.
trying it.
Oh my
A
God.
4-year-old light beer, as light as I have ever brewed.
Oh my God,
This
this
is
is
second
good.
base.
Whoa,
Second
like,
base.
What
By
are
the
you
Texas
like,
Brewing
oh,
Company is 5.3%
Taste it.
alcohol.
You can't get
it's
it.
so light. How are you like? What are you tasting? That's so good.
It's 4 years old, not kept in a refrigerator, and it's clean tasting.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
taste like cardboard.
It's been kept in my garage.
Damn good.
Exactly.
It's a damn good brewed beer and processed and taken care of. I mean,
It's-
to be able to be this
to
good.
me,
You
it
shouldn't be
tastes-
this good.
what?
That's why I
Should not.
usually saw it. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to drink that.
Well, like, literally, like you brought that out of storage, and it tastes great.
Oh,
It
yeah.
tastes good.
2 hours ago, it was hotter than anything.
But
It was
that's
102
'cause y'all know the
degrees.
history
That's
of like
amazing,
literally
right?
that
Yeah.
bottle. But like I taste
That's
it,
crazy.
And
Amazing.
it's like,
Yeah.
Oh, that shouldn't be good. It should be drinkable.
Shouldn't be
Yeah,
drinkable.
They should take like taste rank. It
Like
should taste
crap.
like a. It should taste like a.
Well, that shows that on this one, our brewing
Oh, yeah,
process
I taste
had to
the
be
hops.
pristine and
What's
perfect.
sound?
It was
It was
sound.
sound.
It had to
like,
be.
I taste
I didn't
the
want. When
hops.
you thought I was like, man, I don't want to open this on radio.
That's crazy.
So after how many years?
45 years, I finally got to second base.
4 years. This was brewed 4
Let's
years
go with
ago.
45. No. 4 years. Like you said, it tastes crisp.
Can you
This is
imagine?
good.
And I taste,
I'm
The
shocked.
fact that it's old, it's like an old beer.
That'd be like taking a Budweiser and putting in your garage for 4 years and
Or
drinking it.
like
It should
taking,
not
like-
taste
No.
like
the,
that.
the cause of death, which of course will never taste like
Thanks,
that.
Raymond. That was a good
If-
deal.
if you-
I was
if
when
you-
I was upset when he pulled out. I said, I don't want to
if
drink
you,
that on the
If you
radio.
did this with if you did this with Bud Light, it would taste like
Oh,
skunk.
yeah, yeah,
On
yeah.
most any beer, it tastes like cardboard or skunky or like the
This is sweet.
metallic or penny, like licking pitties.
Well, they have an expiration date on their beer.
For a reason.
Yeah. You don't need an expiration date on this beer.
Well, this one I thought you did because it's so light. It's light on the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
it's not-
but
it's
it still
bigger than
tastes so
Budweiser.
crisp, you know?
Yes.
And yeah, keeping it.
Did you have an expiration date?
No.
Yeah.
My beer's age. If you're
Yeah.
throwing a big blonde, it'd be good, better in 10 years.
I don't
Buy a
know.
bunch and sit on it. Hey, check out my QR scan.
Does it still work?
Yeah, well, I don't know if or not. You see it?
Yeah.
I was able to incorporate kind of my logo into it. That was a trick.
This is the
That's
second
good.
beer brewed by Johnny Max
I'm not sure.
that we're having on this episode.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Damn, that's good, Raymond. I'm shocked.
I am. No, I'm not
I wish I had
shocked,
kept
dude.
some.
I'm not shocked.
Well, no, this beer was not
You have
supposed
a bunch
to
of
age.
these, Raymond?
Huh?
You have a bunch of
Probably
these?
that's it, huh?
We'd
only
sitting
did-
on about 4 or 5 cases of them.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Man, that's
No way.
a bunch.
We only did 500 gallons of this.
Hey, you brewed it
It
for
was a
him,
small
so
batch.
obviously he's getting some.
Yeah.
He's getting
yeah.
Like,
some.
literally went to him like,
Raymond named
it.
it. Raymond named it because I said, "What would be a good name for a beer for breast cancer?" He goes, "Second base." I'm like, "Why?" And he had to explain to me. You get the second base. Second base is the boobies. I'm like,
And
"Oh
Ray.
yeah, that's awesome."
Tell me your second base story.
What story? There isn't anything to tell.
I'm sorry.
Oh God, that's
Never
cold.
mind.
That's cold. That's cold. You and I got to compare notes, okay? I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. Okay.
Anyway, would you like to try some of this beer?
No, thank you. I'm satisfied.
Duvel. The one before was a Duvel.
Oh yeah, dude.
That was my favorite Belgian.
Really?
The one we had before that was a Belgian was a Duvel. But it reminded me of it. That's old school Belgian.
I've
That's
seen
been good
Lefties are
forever.
pretty popular right now. Lefties.
Yeah. I have a bottle of Chimay Grand Reserved, the big one. That's they sell in the stores for $100. I have that. It's been aging for about maybe 10 years.
Jesus.
And I won it in a raffle. I just never. I've had many occasions to
Not finding
pop it, but I just never did. You know.
That's just so. It's just so weird to age beers for me. Is that not like? To me, it's just like no, but everyone does. I keep seeing people do it. Like I'm gonna age this beer. I'm gonna age this beer.
We are experiencing a paradigm shift.
But it's weird. But then when it comes to, but then like I've bought a bunch of beers that have been like I guess sitting on the shelf and they've just tasted like garbage, and I can only assume it's because they've been sitting and aging.
If you get a big Belgian, you get a big barley wine. You can't do IPAs. Any of the big, rich, malty beers will age, and the alcohol will just go away, and the malt will become more dominant.
So you can't age
an alcoholic.
IPA, no.
You can't IPAs. What else? Is that it?
Normally, it's under a certain percentage alcohol. I'm so shocked that Second Base tasted so damn good.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, I thought it tasted
Our
good, but I was
sanitization
like,
and everything.
wow, bro, calm down.
It must have been. I was expecting
behind
expecting
it.
bad.
Well, like, to me, like, it's the patience. Like, you can get a beer and this tastes great in a year. Well, I'm drinking it tonight. Yeah.
Why is there 2 Keenans I'm sitting there staring
Well,
at?
when we would bottle our beer, it was a homemade bottling machine. It was basically what a home brewer would do, but I had it so we could fill 6 bottles at a time. You'd throw the bottle underneath it, and you'd open a valve and you'd blow CO2 into the bottle, which would purge the oxygen. And you'd shut the exhaust valve off, and you'd pressure the bottle up under CO2, and then the beer would go in under pressure so that it wouldn't release the CO2, and then I would take it off, and I would cap it as it's starting trying to foam. I would hopefully have it foaming out as trying to release it. As it's foaming out, I'd cap on foam so there's no oxygen in it. So we must have done very, very good, at least on this bottle.
Yes.
At least on that one.
Everything was perfect. We got all the oxygen out.
It literally is an art.
Yeah,
Like, there's no science in the perfect.
there's a lot of science, a lot of skill. It's a craft.
Yeah, it's a craft.
All the
Like,
way from the
craft is a
process
mixture
of
of
making
art
them
and
all.
science. I think like that is the greatest explanation of craft. It's putting like your art with your
Raymond grabs another beer
sorry.
out of it. Too.
I haven't had this one yet.
Raymond is like, hear him giggling like, woo, I'm having fun.
Hey, let's do another one.
This is one I hadn't
I'm
tried.
gonna take a nice photo of all these for the picture.
Raymond hasn't done a podcast in
And
like
a
4
photo
years,
of Keenan
so
and
he's
the Jets.
building up.
Well, let Raymond talk about this beer.
Oh my gosh.
Naranja.
Oh, it's
Is that
red.
Yes, that's red.
Blood
This
Mary?
is Founder's Blushing Monk, and
It's a red Belgian, huh?
I hope it doesn't taste like that's
Rose hips?
sparkling wine or the Swan. I had a great
Wow.
I had a great
Want me to
sour. Yes, please. I had a
Oh, the one you did
sparkling Swan.
during
Remember
our,
that one?
Christmas episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the Swan episode. Oh man, that is so unsettling.
It's so red.
It's like a clamato, man.
It's
enchilada.
I hate those.
It's redder than
I like them. It's the only Budweiser that has freaking flavor.
It's red.
Yeah, but the wrong
It's
flavor.
tomato and clam juice.
Oh,
man.
yeah,
That's like the two things I hate.
I actually drink those things.
We had a horrible beer recently. What's it called? What was that horse? Fucking enchilada beer.
Who makes the fucking enchilada beer?
It was Carbach. Like
Carbach.
Carbach makes
Well,
an enchilada beer.
yeah, but
it's horrible.
After you've been brewing so much, like, let's make a bacon beer or an enchilada beer.
No, bacon is good.
The cheeseburger beer would be better than that.
Oh my God! It's a framboise. Like it's
brewed with raspberries, dude.
This is a raspberry beer.
Raspberry beer.
He poured that enchilada beer into a glass.
Oh my God, it smells so
before
good.
the
You had
liquid-
framboise, huh? That's what.
No, before we get
but
into
not
that,
as
we
tart.
gotta finish the enchilada story. Before the liquid could touch my lips,
What kind of beer
I
is this?
got overwhelmed with such a enchilada smell that it was like. So it like literally took me four tries to take a
Barfalada.
sip. All right, so back to this.
Tastes like a framboise.
And what it's called?
Yes,
What's
it is.
called?
To me,
it is a
red
framboise.
what?
Well, I don't know if it's
Well,
framboise,
Belgian.
but Belgium. It's Belgium. It's raspberry, so you got to lean itself. But I don't taste the sourness of it. It's very good.
I do.
A framboise.
Do you?
I
So they
don't
soured
taste
a little bit. Well, we're used to the framboise, which is a lambic. And,
Yeah.
Okay.
The history of a lambic is in Lambic, Belgium.
This is a great.
They have a wild
this is
yeast.
sour.
They have a wild yeast that's just in the air in Lambic. So they have whenever they ferment, they leave their vats open and let the wild yeast go into it, and it makes a sour beer, and that's how you get the lambic.
Yeah.
And they must have soured this, but it's not near as
Ray,
sour
try
as
this
the
beer,
lambic.
as
because this beer is like the wine of beers.
It really.
It's like a wine.
He's
It really is.
right, dude. This is so. How is this?
This
a
is
beer?
my wife's favorite beer, the Lambics.
Of course it is.
You'll love it.
It's a
I guess
wine.
it's expensive.
It's barely a beer.
If you buy an actual Lambic, it's expensive for a little
Okay,
bottle.
Ed Ray, review and rate this
No,
beer.
no,
Okay.
mixing.
All right, this is perhaps the-
So gonna be hungover.
Shut up, Keenan. Let me finish.
You go fuck.
No, I'm gonna say this. I think this is perhaps the best beer I had. This is the first beer that actually has flavor in it, and I'm an anti-beer guy.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10.
Yes.
I agree.
This is good.
It is good.
Founders knows what they're doing.
Well,
do
they stole
everything
from
right.
the Lambic, but they tried to copy it, and it's different, and it's so good. You did good, Rainbow,
I
man.
know. I figured that once we're done, we'll line them up and give a rating on each one that we reviewed at the end of the episode.
Oh, that's so fucked up. I don't remember how I thought about beer one.
I do.
I'm gonna go sit by the fire on the swing for that.
You should have known that Keenan is his memory's impaired.
Just assume.
Oh, I gotta go.
That I'm right.
Okay.
Were you with me whenever
All
they
right,
won
well,
the gold
goddamn,
medal?
I guess I'll
Oh,
just
no.
like
Yeah,
whatever else.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a, hey, Raymond, do you have a
I'm gonna say it.
Raymond, do you,
Go
I
ahead.
laughed and laughed.
Raymond, do you have a grand finale beer? In
No,
mind?
I have no. Yeah, well,
Let's do
I
this
love
one.
this beer. I
Is
love
this your
this
grand
beer.
Are we
finale?
gonna taste it after that sweet beer we just
St.
had?
Arnolds. This is my
first-
go-to beer for anything.
Pour enough. I'm gonna pour enough so I can rinse my mouth and swallow this, so I can
the
actually
thing
taste
about,
it
like,
in a second.
craft beer, when you find that one craft beer that you fucking love,
Yeah.
Oh, which one do you love, Keenan?
I just love them.
Bellhaven.
Oh,
I remember the name. Yeah.
Bellhaven Scotch Ale is his favorite.
Oh yeah, very good. Oh my God, you're right. I brewed that one. I tasted it. I had to brew it. After that, I brewed it. It was very good. And
Oh my god.
best Scotch ale.
But when you get through with the framboise style beer, try the Elissa, because the Elissa is an actual beer that is like the actual IPA was by style. The IPAs we have now are just American, hopped out the
Now,
wazoo,
my point
crazy.
is when you select that one specific style by that one specific brand, you can't get that every day on your way home from work.
No.
You can get it from a Elissa IPA.
It becomes a special event in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we are about to taste St. Arnold Brewing Company's out of Houston, Texas, their Elissa IPA.
This is our third St. Arnold's beer on this episode.
Now, this is an actual by style India Pale Ale. whenever you drink all the IPAs, they like add 3, 4, 5, 10 times the hops. This is the style. And I have a story, and it's kind of funny. I laughed so hard. Maybe drink some more of it first.
Okay, I've got a story after your story.
I was at the Great American Beer Festival, and we were there as Brewcrazy, so I didn't have any beers in it because I had my brewery yet. But we're sitting now as they're making the announcements for the winners, and the Elissa IPA got a gold medal.
I was with you.
For an ESB.
I was with you.
An ESB is not near, it's like a third or fourth of the hops of an IPA. That just shows how blown the judges' palates are. But I just laughed that Brock Wagner he entered his IPA as an ESB and won. I'm just saying.
But you summed it up. You summed it up with like the judges. They've been judging beer.
All day long, drinking beer.
Their palates get blown.
How can a beer competition like that then be judged fairly
It's hard.
If their palate's blown?
They're supposed to eat crackers and drink water, and they do, but still, over time, you lose your sensitivity to the hop bitterness. But he entered an IPA and got a first as a
in Canada.
So do the first beers that get drank have a better chance?
Definitely.
But
if you had a real hoppy beer, I'm sorry,
he ain't gonna let you talk.
I'm trying to finish Adam's question. If you entered a real hoppy beer. If you have a real hoppy beer you entered, but one that was like extremely hopped before it, they will drink yours and go, well, this isn't very hoppy.
Right.
Even if they've tried to clean their palate.
Right.
You know what? The same thing implies.
There's 3 Keenans right now. We went past 2. There's 3 Keenans I'm staring at.
I'm waiting for Phil to put beer in his glass.
I'm wondering, I ain't even got it. Why are you all laughing at me?
I want to put beer in your glass. You got to get in your beer.
Like I was going to a joke and y'all start laughing at me.
Because you have no beer in your glass, dude.
You're not drinking the beer we're drinking.
No, I just joked though. Anyway, I'm just saying, believe it or not, the same thing applies in Canada for the pot fest. Alright, marijuana, like you've been smoking too much of you gotta wash your palate out. Then marijuana's very precise and the tasting, because you're tasting smoke. Alright,
You're talking to a reverend here.
And
I know, that's like why I said it.
And a plant worker that gets tested for drugs weekly.
Keenan is clearly drunk. Welcome to Opinions and Beer.
I thought we were using his like catch name, so like no one knew he was a reverend. And ergo, we could talk about whatever he wanted.
He's the cool reverend.
Yeah, I am a pastor.
A pastor.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
What, the pastor
isn't that
or
good
the beer?
You tasting the beer, right?
You tasting the beer?
Are you saying the beer or
the beer's
the
beautiful?
Beer.
No, I was just saying about the fact that there's a pastor that's a beer connoisseur. It's beautiful.
Why am I seeing 4 Keenans? Okay.
No, man, like for obvious reasons, you can imagine why I think that's beautiful.
Okay.
To your mainstream
The Elissa
pastor
IPA.
that you're
Elissa
used to
IPA.
beer,
Let's get back.
and you're drunk.
Well, I'm not a Baptist.
As we go back to the beer.
Oh,
I'm not a Baptist
Yeah,
pastor.
because Baptists are against alcohol, actually.
I'm
Yes.
a Methodist pastor.
oh.
Methodist.
And I'm Catholic, so you
that's
can
just
drink.
all-
Well, now I got to throw it out there. Methodist teaching says to abstain from alcohol if
That's
possible.
real. Okay.
But if you do
Keyword
drink
if possible.
alcohol, you must drink it in accordance with biblical teachings.
Well, it's like drinking it like,
Well,
like
Jesus
you do.
drank. So.
You know, like
Yeah.
you're not trying to get
And-
hammered, like, you're not like that motherfucker
It's funny because Baptists
wakes up drinking.
tend to
on
be
his
anti-beer,
Saturday night.
but they're all alcoholics, so you never know.
And the two, the Methodist preacher and myself are not drunk.
Well, Raymond,
I'm not drunk.
no, Raymond's Catholic. He has to empty the wine after the communion.
I got an interesting story about that too.
Oh,
But let's get back to the Elissa.
Alyssa,
Yes.
yeah, Raymond's got a
Alyssa.
story.
Think about Baptists.
Hey,
at the end of the day, you just gotta close your eyes and think real hard how you're sorry, and start again.
Catholics, they get to confess. Okay, the Elissa. I went to St. Arnolds Brewery. We had 1st of May we had a homebrewers day there. We was brewing beer, and some guys walked up and said,
about the yeast?
No, don't. Let's not mention about the yeast. Okay? that's a bad moment in my life. Okay.
I'm not talking yeast infection. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So I was sitting here drinking my beer, and some guy walks up. How you doing? And he introduced himself. I'm a brewer of the St. Arnolds. I said, oh my God, you got to try my beer. So with each beer, he's telling me the same thing. You got to lower your brewing temperature. I mean, not your brewing temperature, your fermentation temperature.
Your mash or fermentation?
Fermentation temperature. I was fermenting at 72, 74 room temperature. No, I had to lower it. And after that, my beer started tasting a lot better. But he said, since you shared your 4, 5, 6 beers with me, let me share one of my beers with you. And I tasted it, and I said, oh my God. It was one of those oh my God beers. I'm sitting there going, this is great beer. He said, yeah, we hadn't even hit the market with it. It's called the St. Arnolds Elissa IPA.
He got the experimental batch.
Oh,
yes.
man.
I got to taste it before anybody, and
he wanted your opinion because you were a home brewer too.
Yeah. I said, it's going to be a great beer, and I was right. It is a great beer. And he left St. Arnolds and started Southern Star Brewing after that.
Dave Bergeron.
There you go. That's his name.
He started Southern Star?
Yeah, he started Southern Star.
Yeah, Dave Bergeron was the brewer for St. Arnold's, and he went and started Southern. We actually interviewed him, and he was about to open, and all he wanted to talk about was he was mad at the dump truck that brought dirt to his new house and destroyed his driveway.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Keenan, what's your favorite beer from Southern Star?
You know, the one.
Oh my God, I like Buried Hatchet. And I like Bombshell.
Bombshell Blonde.
Bombshell Blonde is.
Oh my God,
Buried Hatchet is my favorite.
Buried Hatchet. I had a Buried Hatchet a couple of weeks ago. I bought a 4-pack.
Buried Hatchet.
Buried Hatchet is really good.
I did have a blonde. Remember you had that blonde that got out that was infected?
Like,
I don't know about infection.
And I tasted it, and I never could go back to it. Now I'm back to it, but it's like we had a batch that came out with a bad taste, and I lost a lot of people. They couldn't go back to it. They could go back to the beer that was good, but they still remembered when I had the off batch. And the same thing with the Bombshell Blonde. He had an off batch. It took me years, and I understood enough being a brewery, so I tried real hard to get over it for him, and I did. And so now I love it again. But it's funny how you taste a beer and it's off. It's like you just can't get past it.
I love it.
So yeah, how's that happen? I was thinking about that. Like, how do breweries?
Wild yeast gets in there.
Okay.
Whenever things are open, they're normally closed, but certain things open, and they're like 13,000 wild yeast floating around. If one happens to go in and get in it whenever it's open and the temperatures are right, you won't taste it at first, but in the bottle, they'll start to multiply and it'll give it an off flavor.
So how do craft breweries keep consistency with their line of beers?
It's a lot harder. It's easier for like Budweiser because their whole facility is like airtight, filtered, and they don't let women in there.
No, you're right.
Because of wild yeast.
No.
Yes.
It'll if it gets in the beer.
Yeah, they don't let women in there.
Well, they have
because yeast infection.
Well, who's the brewery that made the beer out of vagina yeast?
No, that is someone made a beer.
Two did. I don't know.
Someone made beer out of vagina yeast.
But that's why it's real. That's you don't.
Gotta be pussy beer.
Women don't get to go into the brewing area at certain times. Hey, y'all are being bad. It's just factual shit here.
He went bad with it. If someone made beer out of vagina yeast, then shame on you, them. Obviously, that's not the greatest yeast.
Well, they also had what was the brewing company?
Yes, it really is.
It's real. It's real. It tastes like fish.
And everybody's lost their minds.
That was wrong. I apologize. I don't care who you are. That was funny.
It's gotta be called like vagina beer. No creative thinking.
Yeah.
Just straight up vagina beer.
I lost the direction of the podcast. I apologize.
Yeah.
Hey, you won't hear that at church.
I have worked for a company. I won't name the company, but Budweiser requested not to send a female into their yeast room to check it out because of that.
Yeah, they filter their air. Like I said, as a craft brewer, I was open in the woods. It was hard. I had to really be careful.
Like every
They're so
chick got,
strict.
like, yeast
What I would do
in
is
there.
when my beer was exposed, it was at boiling temperatures. And then when I would chill it down,
It's just so
no
weird.
air would hit it. It would go through my chillers, and I would chill it down. It goes into fermenters, and it's
And then a girl walks in the room.
no. Once my wort was boiling, and after that it would cool down, and it would go into fermenters that were sealed and everything.
We're there
It's
blind.
so-
Man, your yeast infection is changing the outcome of our beer. You know?
Well,
They're blind.
they just can't afford it because they do such huge batches
yeah.
at a time. And
Yeah,
if you
they
taste,
can't,
and
like,
if you taste a
afford
batch,
any more
and if you were to
yeast
taste
going
a
in
batch
there.
of a Virginia Budweiser, you would be turned off. You'd probably go to Miller.
Well, yeah.
Why- how come-
Tastes better?
How come a company that's so obviously strict and so slightly secure, how come their beer tastes like just water?
That's
Or
they
piss
they
water.
produce
want
the
that.
beer they want.
They
It's
want
perfect.
that.
They want the masses. It's one style of beer. It's an American lager.
Yeah.
Adjunct.
Adjunct.
Yeah, that's the one style they want. It's very
And it's
consistent.
as I said earlier.
And
not everyone
and
really
obviously it is the
when-
number one selling style in the United States of America and in England
People
and in
like
Belgium
to
and
wonder
in
why.
France.
Because people like the image of being a beer
I don't
drinker. They don't like the flavor of beer.
No, actually,
No, they're not used to it. When they do taste it, like,
Yeah,
oh,
well, they like
they're
the
shocked
image of
because
beer.
they're expecting what they're used to.
Yeah, they want to be a drinker, and when they start out, they're so glad that this beer tastes like water because they never drank beer before.
I drank a Miller Lite this weekend, and I was out there barbecuing. I drank a Miller Lite. It tasted like I was back in college, and partying with the guys. It did, and that's what I liked about
You
it.
want it to taste like water because you're just drinking to get drunk. You're not a true fan of
Well, I can drink
flavor.
Budweiser, but I'm mad at myself every drink that I take. I don't know why. Now I do drink the Chiladas. I will drink the
That's
tomato
why I
clam
like-
juice beer because it's the only Budweiser that has flavor. And I love Bloody Marys, but I never drink
I had
Bloody
some money
Marys.
in my pocket and we were heading to
I didn't when I started to like them. I didn't know that it had clam juice in it, but I was hooked.
we were heading
already.
to this huge blowout event, like huge party, and I knew everyone there would be drinking like
It's my favorite.
somewhere between Bud Light and Coors. So I was trying to find my own, like something
shocked.
craft, something slightly craft. But I was at a corner store. You know, corner stores don't exactly offer
Shocked, Raymond.
a
You
great
got some
craft
bags.
selection. So what I ended up getting was Dos Equis.
Those sexy, I like that. You should be a marketing genius, man.
Dos
I'm telling you, that's
Dos
like,
Equis.
if they listen to this, you better get royalties. Is all I'm
Mexican Pale
saying.
Ale with a hint of chili. It said on the can. Oh my god, it tastes like shit.
Oh, are Dos Equis trying?
No, it's those sexies.
Are
sexy.
Are
You
Dos
just coined
Equis?
something there,
Are
buddy.
Dos Equis trying something new?
They did, and it was horrible.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't far from that enchilada beer. It's just such a spicy beer. It was like, oh my god, this is
I've
like
actually had a crawfish flavored beer before, and it was really, really good. I can't remember who makes it. It was a Louisiana company.
I bought a case, 30 spicy beers.
You probably
I
still
hated-
got them, huh?
I had them till the other day. I broke down and I was just drunk.
Crawfish.
You got some people in your house. Come over and got them drunk. Here, drink this.
Yes, yeah.
Got rid of it.
Tastes like crawfish.
There was a crawfish
I drank
flavored beer
half
that
of it.
I can't remember who makes it. It's like it's a Louisiana company, but they distributed here before over at one of these local beer places. Who makes that?
What?
I don't know. It's such a weird. They have another beer. It has like pelicans on it, and it's like Louisiana's.
I'm lost, dude.
Oh, we're at 2 hours. I'd like to give all your listeners a tip.
Okay.
You know what is it? Corona.
Yes.
For Americans, they put Corona in a clear bottle for the skunky flavor, and what makes it skunky is when light hits the hops.
Yes.
It skunks it, and you can smell it. It's mostly smell. But if you go to Mexico on a cruise and you go Cancun, Cozumel, ask for a barrilito. That's what the locals drink. It's a little 12-ounce bottle. It's a little stubby. It's in dark glass, and you actually get the taste of the beer. Now, in the United States, you can get it, and I do it every now and then. You'll find one of the gas stations that have it in a 32-ounce bottle, and it's Corona in a dark brown bottle. Get it. It's actually a very good beer. It's not skunked. It's nice, malty, crisp, and clean, and it's a good beer. And it's not high enough in alcohol that if you drink the whole bottle, you're toast.
Right.
So it's a good evening beer.
Was that the last beer, Raymond?
That was the last beer in my ice chest, but the after party will be finishing off the dregs of all these beers.
Yes.
You're going to post a raw picture of this.
I will. I'm going to label the episode "Cause of Death."
Yes.
But it's going to be. What's been your favorite beer of the day so far?
Cause of Death, of course.
You know, it's funny. Cause of Death had a very bourbon taste to it, but you didn't age it in bourbon barrels, did you?
No. Not a bit.
Is that so weird? Why is that like that? Do some people?
It's evolved over time. It's not what it's age. Age made the beer what it is. You really don't have control over that. But it's all Maris Otter. It's all Maris Otter barley.
It literally comes from the natural flavors and the high alcohol content and the lack of carbonation.
Do you think some bourbon barrel aged beers just say they're bourbon barrel aged?
No, I think they have to because the public would find out and they'd crucify them.
No, but
you have to have honesty as a brewery.
Beers that claim to be beers, but it's like, oh my god, bro, this tastes like bourbon.
This is my favorite beer. I was shocked beyond
That was
belief.
nuts. Yeah.
That was good.
Second base. I was shocked beyond belief.
It tasted what kind of beer style is that?
It's a blonde. It's a blonde ale.
Very
low alcohol. It's only like 6% alcohol.
It tasted very pilsnery to me, but I mean.
Well, pilsner is a lager, and I use an ale yeast. So.
Right. But pilsners are more like blonde lagers.
Blonde and they're grainy.
They're not supposed to age well. This one aged well.
I'm shocked.
Why am I looking at 5 Keltons? Keaton's.
Well,
Keaton's.
good burger.
Keaton's.
Kelton, that's my.
Yeah. That's where I got Kelton at.
We hit 2 hours. So let's go through these beers we're going to go through these beers we reviewed.
Good luck. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All 21.
You're on your own.
Yeah.
Special episode.
I'll lead them to you.
21 beers.
Cause of Death was really good, very bourbony. It was big. It just aged well. You didn't get the burn
But you got that fruit taste.
And you can't buy it.
And you can't buy it.
It's like a fruity bourbon.
What?
Cause of Death.
Raisiny, almost raisiny.
Yeah.
John, what would you sell the last 2 bottles of Cause of Death for?
I wouldn't.
Okay, there you go. He wouldn't sell them.
It's against the law. I'd go to jail.
Oh,
Against the law.
That's why.
And
someone says
we then reviewed Oaked Worldwide Stout by
Dogfish.
Dogfish
I
Head.
really like that one.
That was really good.
That was a 9 out of 10.
Divine kind of suffered because we drank it right after drinking one
Monster beers.
As we did everything.
120.
And we drank that right after that.
Breakfast Stout was okay.
By Founders.
Founders Breakfast Stout was a little bit better than the St. Arnolds we had. Dogfish IPA, it stuck with me so long.
It was so
citrusy.
That's my only problem with it. My only problem with Dogfish was that it was stuck with me way too long.
What's your big
look out.
Hey, wait, before you move on.
French? Yeah.
With Dogfish IPA.
Okay. Bring them here? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Where are my keys at?
It'd be great. Like if you're drinking on that all night, it's great. Yeah. But the fact that we got other beers to come.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the St. Arnold's French press. What was that?
Oh, that was really good.
Roasty.
But it really there becomes like when you're trying to judge this shit, and
coffee stout.
Look, the other one was
Madusa was
really
really
great.
Madusa
All night.
was strangely good.
Yes. I've
Well,
never
we
tried it
moved
before.
on.
It was good.
Madusa was weirdly good, and I had their other beer, their Kick, Snap Kick.
Yeah.
Oh no! What was that beer, man? I think we reviewed it, but we reviewed it when we were interviewing Michael Jai White, the actor from Spawn, and he's
whenever
in
I was in jail
Dark
at that
Knight.
time.
But it was really good. Then we also tried
You
Crying
didn't even tell
Eagle
him I said what's
Hot
up.
Blooded IPA
From Foreigner?
from Foreigner.
Yeah, Foreigner was there when they brewed it.
Louisiana Brewing
They were.
Company.
They brewed it just so they could meet Foreigner.
I think seven Spanglish was probably my
Seven Spanish Angles.
seven Span. I don't know why I said Spanglish.
Seven Spanish.
Seven Span.
I do speak Spanglish.
Respect
by the way.
Willie Nelson
Seven-
and Ray Charles.
Seven Spanish Angels was
I don't
one
think
of
it's
the
Ray Charles, is it?
Yeah.
Seven Spanish Angels. I'm probably gonna
It
take
was the
away from
greatest
this.
beer because of the name.
It's good.
Cholo was it was a good stout, a little light.
That's the one that had the pepper flavor.
Was
to it.
milky.
That was, but
No. You said this one had the pepper.
oh, that was the.
You said the St. Arnold's did, I think.
What was one of them?
No. Breakfast stout. Breakfast
The
stout.
breakfast stout.
You said
with the
Founder's
baby on the
breakfast stout.
picture.
Had the pepper flavor.
Then we had this one stood out
That
flavor wise most. Isn't that the one that had that was like a Chimay?
Yes.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
that was
We
a
even had our wine
beer.
It's a
connoisseur
Belgian.
drink it and said
Yeah,
it was a
what was that
10.
called again?
Can't read it.
Okay.
What was the name of that, Raymond?
That is a Blushing Monk by Founders.
Blushing Monk
So it was a
by
Belgian, but it was kind of a framboise sour beer.
That was really good.
That was
And then
good.
Elissa IPA to cap it off. This is just a standard,
Just a good.
just a good IPA.
Forgot one.
And then obviously second base,
Pooh!
Can't get no
My
more.
the
God.
second beer that we tried
You
today.
can't buy it.
By Johnny Mack himself, who we had today on the podcast.
Greatest podcast.
Did you have fun?
Yeah,
I got two cases of it. I'm willing to sell them $2,000 a bottle.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good because I'm not having to walk right now.
Good. Does this take you back to your old
Podcast days.
You gotta realize, right, Raymond. I really controlled myself, where nobody could have got a word
You
in
know,
edgewise.
these
I did
young-
very good, didn't I?
Yeah,
I
these
controlled
young
myself.
kids, they've had to step off and take a break every now and then.
I didn't. Oh, to wash my beer.
Yeah.
Piss breaks don't count.
I did not take
Yeah, but
one.
I did very good. I did
I
not
didn't
just
take-
take the show
I
away.
periodically exited when I knew y'all would be talking amongst yourselves.
John had to put a knot into it. I had to put 2 knots in mine, but I'm still
Hey,
here.
we're not drink. We were drinking. Raybo and I were drinking like 25% volume of what these two guys were. It's age. We understand.
I'm trying to say.
Now we're fixing to cut loose.
I
and
haven't-
put away
Everyone's
some.
accepted.
I haven't gone to take a break yet.
I did,
Just
but
so
I'm
you
older.
know. Just so you know.
Look, yeah.
His eyes are yellow.
I swear to God, it was for ego. I don't crave. I swear I'm only an alcoholic because of ego. I don't crave alcohol. I just have something to
You
prove.
gotta be something. You know, you gotta be something.
Like, oh man, I still wasn't gonna drink today, but now I gotta put this dude
What are-
under the table.
What are some of the things that you missed from doing the Brewcrazy podcast?
Oh man, the camaraderie. We would come together. It was a beer maker. It was King Binka. It was
Yes,
Raybo.
that's what I
It was the
love.
Queen. It was myself, and we would have guests. It was just a camaraderie. We'd come together and
That's
drink
what
beers,
I love.
and the whole purpose.
In the
was-
walrus.
Yeah,
the
the whole-
walrus.
Yeah, that's what I said.
What was
Yeah,
his
Corey.
name? Corey. yeah.
Beer maker.
Oh my
And the whole
God.
purpose was
He was
come
funny as all
together
get out.
to educate people about craft beer. And when we started to, I intentionally started to push people to start craft breweries. Started looking into it, and it was subliminal. And the first one that caught it was Corey, beer
Yeah,
maker.
yeah.
And then we were a big part in pushing. We said, "This is how you do it," and everything. It was all put in there, just subliminally
Yeah, I remember
information.
reading
And
your
so I am the reason,
like,
including
how I
myself,
did
a
it.
lot of people that dumped all of their retirement in the breweries and then closed them down.
Like on cause of death.
Uh,
Your way
well,
of
I'm
doing
just
cause of death was
saying.
right
But
on
yeah,
line.
I intentionally pushed people to start craft breweries.
It was
I didn't
above-
tell anybody until
it was-
after the
yeah,
fact.
it was
Corey already
above
started a
board,
brewery
you know?
by the time I said what I was
It's
doing.
proof that you wanted everyone to do their own thing. Like, this is no top secret. No, fuck you, I did this and you can't do this.
Well, we would have,
Yeah.
every time I put a show up, we'd have 25,000 downloads,
Yeah.
which is a lot.
Yes.
And out of that many people, It doesn't take that many to start a craft beer revolution, and I'm just one of the ones like
right, Adam?
I'm just one of the few that will do it.
We got a dozen, right, Adam?
Right, Adam?
Maybe two dozen.
The fuck, Adam?
No, when we have,
Well, we were one of the first 3 podcasts.
that's what it is.
You had
the market. Well, no, the market right now is
you had the guy,
oversaturated.
you had the guy Graham Sanders from Australia. You had the Brewing Network and us, and then we were actually one of the ones that were featured in Brew Your Own magazine, along with the Brewing Network and Graham Sanders at the very beginning when there was. You didn't even hardly call them podcasts. They started to call them podcasts, but it was netcast, it was webcast.
2 knots.
Maybe 3. Oh my god. But there's some.
Well, I'll let you wrap it up. We could go on for days.
could go on
No,
for
keep
days.
going on.
No, we're at 2 hours and 9 minutes. I wanted to close it at 2:10.
I was aiming for 3.
But
All right. Well, we already over with the intro outro.
Just end it and restart it.
Wait.
Damn.
All right, man.
Another podcast.
Have a beer for me.
have a beer. Ed Ray, what'd you think of this episode?
It was a little bit too long.
I agree.
Too long?
Ed Ray, you're
Ed
so
Ray.
uncommitted.
Ed Ray.
Ed Ray.
That's just your
Maybe
opinion.
it'd been,
That's
no,
just
no, maybe
your-
it'd been shorter if we didn't have a wine review.
This is a typical Brewcrazy
How do you like them
podcast.
apples?
We'd go 2.5
Shut up.
hours normally.
Just your opinion.
It takes that long to go through a lot of
That's all we
beer.
have here.
Our opinions
And
And
beer.
beer.
and beer.
Lots of beer.